Welcome back. We are right about to begin the final match here at the very first
Oh yeah,
Star Wars World Championships. Pretty exciting stuff.
very happy to be here.
What is your take on the tournament so far? Have things played out the way that you have expected? What has it been like to be here and participate in this?
It's been awesome.
That's good to hear.
If I can say one word, awesome. Yeah. My name is Matt Kish, by the way.
Oh
so
yeah, Alex
thank you.
Davey,
Yeah.
Matt Kish, welcome aboard.
Absolutely.
Guest commentator for the final match.
So I think most people that pay attention to competitive Legion here know Luke and Kyle.
Yeah, I'd say that they are a pretty big figure in the community. Definitely Kyle's statistical analysis has been really interesting to see and has been very helpful for the community when they're sort of trying to understand how to build and you know what is valuable and what certain units are for. And Luke, we've seen both of them play a really impressive tournament so far. Kyle, sort of based on his record, this weekend might be considered the wild card, having only gone 2-2, but he delivered when it counted, and he is obviously a tournament-winning top-level player. So both of these lists highly tuned. They're pretty good mirrors for one another.
Very close.
And so I think that'll be a really interesting demonstration of kind of each faction's strengths and weaknesses. So I'm really curious to see how this is all going to play out on this dense forest terrain.
Absolutely.
Do you think that this map favors either faction particularly? Looking at this and knowing what you know about Kyle and knowing what you know about Luke and the list that they're bringing, I'm going to put you on the spot a little bit here, but do you have any initial observations about the way this is playing out?
Luke has the choice for blue, so I think he chose a side, and whatever he saw might get advantage.
Yeah, so you think he's got an eye on the particular terrain here and the way that is set up. I noticed that they're picking battle cards already, so it looks like we're going to have Sabotage the Moisture Evaporators. Because that was pushed to. Not entirely sure what the are. No deployments have been selected yet. But this is always such an interesting phase of the game. This is what people call turn zero.
Sure.
And it can really influence the entire flow of the battle.
So now that they have Sabotage, Luke has the advantage.
Yeah, tell me why that is. What is advantageous about that for the Imperial player?
Right, so as blue player, he can have a defensive position, meaning that each player gets their moisture evaporators max points, and then unless you get to the other side of the field, you have to go for kill points, essentially. Right,
so you think that essentially a kill point scenario favors the Imperials, especially with a bounty on the table?
More so from blue player, because if
it's
a tie,
that's true.
then blue player wins.
So it forces Red's hand. They have to do something.
So Kyle will have to be pretty aggressive in this scenario, which he may not want to be.
Yeah, and that will be interesting. Although I will say, this is the first game we've seen with rapid reinforcements. That card has gotten significantly stronger and more interesting after the minor errata that it received. It will be curious to see how that plays out. We have not seen that. I don't know if it was in any of the games that were not streamed, but this is the first time we are seeing it on the stream.
Okay.
So I don't know if that brings other evaporators into play. If that changes the strategy at all, or if it's just another tool in the toolbox. But it will be interesting to see how that all shakes out.
So what were the changes to it?
So originally, rapid reinforcements, the units did not come down until the second round, I believe, and they came down activated. So they were missing out on essentially the first two turns of the game. Now they come down. During the first round. So
they're still activated, though.
Yeah,
right?
they still come in activated, but they're only missing one round, and it's the first round. So generally speaking, there's not necessarily a ton of firepower in the first round. So it just becomes a much more useful thing to do to actually put a squad into rapid reinforcements.
And you have to now, right?
And it is now no longer optional.
Yeah.
So that makes it a lot more interesting. Unfortunately, the way that it was originally printed, most people just didn't do it. It was a disadvantage to do it. Now it's hard to say whether it's an advantage or a disadvantage, and players get to choose between 1 and 2 squads to reinforce. It does perhaps allow a little bit more ability to pressure that up for grabs Vaporator, but maybe it'll just be used to achieve a good firing position and go for kill points. I don't know that it favors any side particularly, although Empire does like to be able to stay in a good position. So perhaps being able to drop a unit of stormtroopers behind some heavy cover in a spot that they would not easily be able to advance to under normal conditions could prove to be an important aspect of this game.
Yeah, I think these lists are fairly vanilla.
Yeah,
when it comes to variations in core and things like that.
Yeah, you're probably not going to want to rapid reinforce your snipers because obviously you're going to miss a shot, and nobody wants that. They also have Scout already.
Yep.
And the other thing about this game...
Scout 2 and Scout 3 in this mission.
Yeah,
right?
absolutely, because the other really interesting thing about this is I think that this advanced position scenario is going to give Luke a real edge too, because he has recon intel on a lot of his forces.
Oh, wow, yeah.
So he's going to have a lot of Scout 2 on the board. In fact, I think he's got four recon intel on stormtroopers and three strike teams. So that's and on Boba Fett.
Wow, yeah.
So he's got 8 units with Scout 2.
So he'll be able
and rapid reinforcements. So this is going to be very interesting. That's a much more nimble Empire list than you normally see in terms of positional play.
Yeah, that helps with the range 4 and get early.
Yeah, absolutely. I see a shout out in chat. Remember when Luke Eddy worked in the FFG Game Center as a cashier? And now look. Yeah, it's funny. You know, Luke and I have been friends for a long time, actually. And when he worked in the Game Center, we used to play Netrunner over lunch breaks. We're both weird, diehard enthusiasts for the old Decipher Lord of the Rings TCG. Which is a phenomenal game, actually, a phenomenal game design, and we still play a bit of that. But I was really thrilled when Luke got hired by the miniatures department because he's a great guy. He's a really sharp mind, and he's been an absolutely invaluable part of Legion. Like, just having him on board has been absolutely critical to the game's success. So super glad that he made that jump over to behind the curtain, and yeah, just glad to have him on board.
So setting up the evaporators or vaporators, what's the proper
that is, I believe they are moisture evaporators, but I have no idea. I cannot conclusively answer that question. Do they ever say it on screen? Do they talk about it, repairing the moisture evaporators?
I think in
New Hope, right?
I think
yeah,
they do.
Yeah, I think. Well, who's got the thread? Who? Someone go to the tape. Someone get that VHS. I believe it is evaporators, but it is vapor we're talking about.
Right,
so
yeah.
who knows?
English, right?
Right, but it is cool. I do like that we got miniatures for those. I know that those have been a popular terrain element. You can use them as tokens to mark this particular mission, or you can just build them into some of your custom terrain and give it that real Star Wars feel. I mean, this world looks pretty moist, so I'm not sure why the evaporators are quite as critical. They make a lot of sense on that desert moisture, terrain.
Yeah,
yeah, but you know, maybe everything is poison water, and you need to get the good stuff.
So we have one down so far in the bottom right corner here.
Oh, what else gets vaporized? That's a good point.
High designer water. Okay.
Uh-huh. They're fighting over that designer bottled water. Can fetch a high price. So we are looking at just the sort of initial setup. Players marking out deployment zones, thinking about their choices here. The clock has yet to start, so we've got quite a bit of time here.
Looks like Luke wants to hide that one behind that big tree here.
Yeah, I think that's a nice safe spot. You can get your mechanics to work behind that line of sight blocking terrain. Not a bad call at all.
Now, can you see Kyle's anywhere?
I believe Kyle's putting one down behind that very large tree in the top of the screen.
Okay.
Yep, he is positioning it at this very moment. Yeah, you can just see it on the wide shot, right where Kyle is moving his tools right now. That's where that evaporator went down. And we're going to be bringing you various angles throughout the match. We've got 3 cameras for the finals, so we're gonna see this game. 4 cameras, Matt's telling me. So we're really going to bring you every angle of this beautiful board and this exciting final match.
Next to your drone camera as well?
Drone cameras. Earlier on, we were talking about getting a little tiny body cam for every single mini in every single army, so you can just cut directly to their line of sight. You know, Palpatine strolls up with "and now you will die." Just cut to that rebel trooper.
Awesome.
Luke jumps over a roof. Cut to that stormtrooper's little tiny body cam. So yeah, we're working on that.
Yeah. That's great.
Some praise for the trophies. Yeah, they're very nice trophies. It's very exciting to have that on the table.
And the custom Darth Vader, right?
Yes, one of the exclusive celebration miniatures, of which only about maybe 500 were made. So that is a coveted item, and will be available to the winner of this tournament. Star Wars Legion. Cinematic cutscenes, absolutely. I like the custom paint job on those range rulers. It adds a little something to it. Kyle's been rocking those all tournament.
I mean, it's definitely not an auto exclude.
Oh, now we can hear them. That's great.
Oh yeah.
But it is uncomfortable as red.
I think this game is going to be very, very interesting.
Definitely.
Can Boba hold off Luke? Can the Imperials claim these objectives?
I'm looking forward to the Luke whipcord.
Yeah, that's a big play. That's definitely, when we were designing Boba Fett, we knew he needed something to be able to deal with the melee powerhouse characters. It befits his role. It sort of goes in line with a lot of the things that we see about Mandalorians in the films, in the Clone Wars TV show. They have a bag of tricks, and a lot of them have been developed, if not specifically to combat Jedi, then certainly adapted to combat Jedi. And you see Jango Fett pulling that off. You see bounty hunters like Cad Bane, and of course Boba Fett in Return of the Jedi whips that cord around Luke. Doesn't, it just slows him down a little, but sometimes that's all you need in a game of Legion. You gotta slow him down for a critical turn. And especially if you can deploy the whipcord on the Son of Skywalker turn, you can really blunt one of the nastier attacks in the game. I mean, Son of Skywalker can be an absolute game changer.
Definitely.
But it's a bit hard to deploy because you do have to get so close. But at the same time, Boba's not invulnerable. A lot of firepower on the Rebel side of the table. Leia's actually pretty good at putting the hurt on Boba. So we will see. And we will see if the coordinated bombardment helps Kyle win the sniper war to some extent. That can make a big difference. Obviously, you can hide one of those snipers, but if you're going for that kind of attrition, a few extra shots can be very, very helpful.
Yeah, we'll see how aggressive Luke deploys his snipers.
Yeah, he's going to have to think about that, though. It's going to have to be in the back of his mind. He has to put it in a place that is not going to just get pummeled by an early Leia turn. That may limit his deployment some. It may not be a huge factor. I know we've seen some games where coordinated bombardment was not even played. I believe Kyle's last game, he ended up moving forward with Leia a little bit more aggressively in order to just use her pistol, which is a solid weapon.
Sharpshooter 2 is good.
Yeah, she's no joke. I'm very happy with how she turned out. She's a really good, affordable commander who can you can slot her into just about any list and get a lot of a benefit from it.
Definitely.
Which is kind of appropriate for the characters, really the heart and soul of the rebellion for a long time. So it's just nice to see her so frequently represented on the tabletop.
We didn't do rapid.
Oh shit.
Chat says his favorite part of Madman Rambler says that his favorite part of coordinated bombardment on this board is that until she gets deployed, there's a lot of angles she could shoot a coordinated bombardment from thanks to advanced positions. No, that's very true. That's another aspect of the battle cards that is kind of fun when you have little changes like an unexpected Scout 1 on Leia. You're able to get those angles. So that's something Luke's going to have to think about.
Plus a double move potentially.
Yeah, absolutely. A scout move and then a double move. It's going to be hard. I mean, there's some line of sight blocking terrain here. It's a pretty dense map, and it should be a very interesting game. But you can't hide from infinite range and 3 bombardments. You can't hide everything from that, to be sure. And that's going to have to be factored into Luke's thinking here. Of course, Veers has one big boom, which is also can be devastatingly effective. So that's going to be on both players' minds as they set up for this match. Some very rational thought from Madman Rambler.
Not so mad.
Yeah, not so crazy. Doesn't seem so mad to me.
I think most of us got it because of you.
I got a question from Nikki Myland from me. Seeing the growth of this game over the last year, is it where you expected it to be, and what are your expectations of growth for the next year? I've mentioned this before. It's exceeded all of expectations for a game that's only a little over a year old. Like the amount of excitement, engagement, energy, passion, creativity, and just sheer creation from the community has been just stunning. LVO was amazing. Adepticon was amazing. I've seen absolutely wild custom terrain and paint jobs and awesome hobby stuff. So I really think that, in retrospect, there was sort of this powder keg just waiting to explode of people who were really wanting a Star Wars tabletop game. And I think that I'm lucky that, that people have responded to the mechanics so positively, that people seem to genuinely enjoy the game so much, and that they're fans, for the most part, of the sculpts and excited that all of that continues to get better and better. So it totally exceeded my expectations. I think it's been an incredible first year. And having said that, now looking forward into the next year, I'm setting my expectations much, much higher. I fully expect the Clone Wars to bring in tons and tons of new players.
Definitely.
I expect it to open up the meta. I expect it to be a very interesting, very, very interesting year for Legion. And, that's just around the corner. A few months, I think, that set should hopefully be out. I can't confirm exact release dates, but I know we are targeting it to come out ASAP. I just got last week. I got the development copy, so I've held the final. I've held the final printed box of Clone Wars stuff in my hands. We had the players here got a little sneak peek on Friday of some of the stuff we've been working on, including a couple fully built units of clones and battle droids. So it's in the can, and we're just waiting for the factory to produce it and ship it out. So that's very exciting, and the future's bright, especially if we can keep going at this pace. It's going to be incredible. Clone Wars out tomorrow, confirmed.
I wish.
Yeah, me too. Wouldn't that be something? No, we still have to get to wave 5, guys. Come on now.
Sabine and Bosk this week?
Yeah, they got delayed a little bit, but I physically have the actual release version of those on my desk, so they can't possibly be too far away. I believe there was some sort of shipping kerfuffle or factory thing. It's a bit of a wild scene in terms of trade with China right now. So that's going to keep things a little less certain than they might otherwise be. But that being said, we're still firing on all cylinders, and Wave 5 is just around the corner. Will there be an in-flight report at Gen Con? I assume so. There always has been, but I can't say for sure. But we have never not done that, so it'd be pretty weird if we didn't. All right, there's FFG Live. I was perhaps a little more cautious than I needed to be. Yes, there will be an in-flight report, and it'll be full of goodies as usual.
Killing us, Jimmy.
It sounds like we got about 10 seconds to clock start. If you may have noticed, you see a lot of movement here. It looks kind of like the middle of round 1, but this is just deployment, and they're utilizing these scout moves to really get to grips with each other early. So I think this is going to be a really exciting game.
This is definitely one of the longer setups, I think. Because
Yeah.
there's so much movement.
Oh yeah, there's tons involved with this, but the one nice thing about it, it's a longer setup, but then you get to grips with the enemy much, much faster. So there tends to be a really action-packed round 1.
Definitely.
This will be interesting. Still a few units to deploy on both sides.
All the snipers.
All the snipers. I think Leia is still yet to be deployed. I believe Veers is yet to be deployed. So, yeah, they're still working their way through this deployment. There's a lot to think about, but one thing's for sure: there's going to be a lot of action right out of the gate. So, and remember, rapid reinforcements. That's a wild card.
Yeah.
I see some really interesting spots on this board, actually, like on the very bottom. Those barricades down there or that tree, both of those could be interesting places to drop some reinforcements, either as the rebel player to try to disrupt things.
Behind
or
enemy lines, right?
Yeah.
It's outside of range 2.
Absolutely. Now, I don't think anyone's going to airdrop a commander or anything crazy like that, but that is a possibility with this objective. And certainly in casual games, I've had some fun with rapid reinforcing a Luke Skywalker way up the board. I don't expect to see that now, obviously, but it is an interesting option. Now Luke is putting down some stormtroopers, and this is going to make any sort of backfield reinforcements a little bit harder because, of course, you have to outside of range. Is it 1 to 2, I believe, or possibly
Outside
1 to
of
3?
range 2.
Range 2, yeah. So
Yeah.
that can help zone off your areas, but we'll see. Yeah, we'll certainly see how that plays out.
I think it's non-operative.
Oh yeah,
right?
we made sure of that actually in the second edition of the card. So yeah, you can't do airdropping Luke. That would
be pretty cool though.
It's funny. I get confused because obviously we do iterate on a lot of different versions before we land on the final one. So I believe that was a semi-final version of the card, and of course there's been 2 versions of it. There's been the original printing and then the errata version. So, but the errata version, I think most players are quite happy with the changes. It makes it a much more interesting card.
Yeah.
And it sounds like the FFG Live confirming it was a Z6 and a DLT, respectively, that were rapid reinforced. So as expected, course. But those coming down in a good spot can be very helpful. And there's a lot of nice hard cover, a lot of nice LOS blocking terrain here, so possibly some good opportunities to disrupt the opponent's forces.
So it's hard to tell, but in the middle, is that the downed ATST kit?
Yeah, that's
converted,
actually, if we can go to the tripod view for a second, we can get a peek at this. This is indeed a retail product that has been accessorized with some lovely foliage. What's great about that is it really does look like genuinely part of that forest.
It looks great.
And that's a beautiful kit. That's a really finely done kit. The base and the rocks and everything that it comes with are part of the kit, and then what has been added to it is all that moss and foliage and stuff. So, but you can take that in a lot of different directions. We've seen it on the desert board with some claw marks from some creature.
There's one on every table.
There is one on every table, absolutely. Yeah, we shipped them all out to Sean Morris, and we had him just to play with them, have some fun with it. So I think that's a good showcase of that mini. It's a lot of fun to see that on the table. And I'm just excited for, future terrain kits that we do. I hope eventually we'll have a nice library.
Very cool.
So tell me a little bit about your experience with the Legion. How did you get involved? Was this the game you've been waiting for years, or did it just catch your eye?
So I started with X-Wing, right? And it
That's
just
where we
came
get
out.
you.
I said, you got us hooked on the dice games, and I played other strategy games when I was younger, and Star Wars fan, and I demoed it, and it was just great. So I like the hobby aspect. I love the whole, tactical piece of it, and it's just fun to collect and play.
Yeah.
It's a great game.
Good to hear it.
Yeah, even if you don't like Star Wars, it's a good minis game.
Yeah, and I think that was high on my list of things. Make sure that it's a good game, but also make sure that it feels like Star Wars and hits all those buttons. And I'm happy to hear that most of the fans think that we've succeeded to some degree.
I mean, Darth Vader feels like Darth Vader. You'll see
slow and brutal.
Yeah, Boba Fett does Boba Fett stuff.
He does, and he does it well.
Right, it does it really well. His whipcord, Luke won his last game by getting whipcord off.
Yeah, absolutely.
Palpatine.
Yep, and that was really exciting because that came down to that 50-50 die roll for the turn. That makes a big difference. And, of course, Boba tanking all that lightning.
That was unbelievable.
That was really surprising. I don't know that he would have won even if he dropped Boba, but at least it certainly would have been closer.
It would have been much closer, yeah.
But, yeah, that was a really interesting turn. However, had he won the roll-off,
if he won the roll-off,
moved up and defeated Boba, he had a really good chance of taking that game. So pretty much every game we've been watching, certainly in the finals, has been really, really close. And I think that's a testament to the quality of the players here and just how good everybody is and how finely tuned these lists are.
It's pretty amazing. I mean, we had, 5 1-2s? Out of 8,
yeah, wildly enough, that was a bit unexpected. We had 1 3-0, we had 2 2-1, and then we had a bunch of 1-2s. And then actually, Kyle was 1-2 coming into this final game, but he has certainly demonstrated why he belongs to be here, and has a great chance to take the whole thing.
Definitely.
And Luke was almost 3-0. There was all this variance. That game came down to Leia being able to knock 2 snipers down with a single shot.
Oh, wow.
And seal the deal on breakthrough.
Wow.
So, almost all the streaming games have been incredibly close and super fun to watch. And, we watched Eric's Palpatine list absolutely annihilate a different Boba Fett. But Fett came back to get his revenge in the semifinals there. So, it's always fun to see. Those moisture evaporators are nicely painted up. They look like they belong on this table. I like that ruined archway and all those crates a bunch.
Definitely.
And the deployment continues. Looks like not too much longer now. I see Luke, Leia, and 2 snipers left for Kyle to deploy. The rebel troopers there in reserve, coming in with rapid reinforcements.
So the clock has started.
It has, but it's a very long clock. So we make sure that this final game wraps up. We got 3 hours and 22 minutes on the clock. So we should see all 6 turns.
So currently, what's your favorite unit that's out?
That's hard to say. Of released units, so I suppose that does not include Bosk and Sabine or any of the Wave 5 stuff. If we're talking units, not commanders, I would probably say the Pathfinders. I really think they're an interesting playstyle. Hard to win with and really dependent on good positioning and then actually stacking up suppression in a way that can they need to have enough suppression to survive, but not too much that they run away.
Yeah.
So that's just a lot of fun. I tend to like trickier play styles. I like playing the rebels because they have to be a little sneakier about things. So yeah, I think of what non-commander unit is out there, probably Pathfinders. In terms of commanders, either Han or Palpatine. They both have all kinds of ridiculous tricks. Palpatine is just as conniving and disruptive as Han, but he's about twice as expensive, and he backs it up with an unbelievable ranged attack. Whereas Han can do damage, but he's not going to change the whole game the way Palpatine does.
Definitely.
But it's fun to see them play against each other too, because they both have such subversive abilities. Because give into your anger can actually beat
It's
Sorry About the Mess, which is
the
pretty
best initiative
hilarious.
card in the game right
But
now, right?
then Han can play Change of Plans. So and then he can play Sorry About the Mess to guarantee a first activation. But it's just you have to do those mind games with your opponent.
Definitely.
And I think that I think that's the case with almost every commander. Certainly there's going to be that Luke Whipcord mind game going on here. But the really good players will do stuff like deploy the garrison to respond to a bum rush, or No Time for Sorrows to pull back if they're worried about a saboteur mine going off. And we've really tried, from a design perspective, to give players a lot of really fun tricks like that, so you can never just be totally sure of how a round is going to play out. And that's, I think, the beauty of the command hand.
I think that's what makes the game unique, from a sense of all the combinations of the different strategies, I guess.
Yeah. It really is interesting, and it's kind of exponential. I mean, we've seen the game evolve. There's currently 4 releases out in the world. I'm on work 4 waves out in the world. I'm working on wave 8 right now.
Wow.
So, like Luke was talking about this a little bit last stream, we sort of live in the future.
In multiple versions.
Yeah.
Okay.
I mean, waves 5, 6, and 7 are locked in.
Okay.
So those are done. They're just in the can. 5's about to come out. 6 is right around the corner. 7 is a lot more Clone Wars stuff and some cool Rebel stuff and Imperial stuff. And then 8 is just getting off the ground. So, but when I'm working on 8, I'm factoring not only the waves that have been out and are kind of a known quantity. I'd say waves 1 through 4 are we know a lot more about them because we've seen players use them. But even so, like we haven't really seen what the impact of tanks is going to be. What the occupier is going to do to the meta.
No vehicles in the
no,
tournament,
none in the
right?
tournament. It's not too surprising. I mean, these players are bringing lists that they are very familiar with. I think it's not really a secret that the core wave vehicles are a little less powerful than having an all trooper list. But I think certainly anecdotally I've heard that the tanks are shaking. I do think though that for this event, they're going with what they know, like the back of their hands. And that makes total sense at the World Finals. But certainly I would like some more vehicles in the game. Creatures in Wave 5 are going to be a very interesting element. So, yeah, a lot of exciting stuff coming out. And I actually have no idea what the meta is going to look like in a year. I never do.
Yeah, it's going to be exciting. So Boba's behind the tree on the left.
Yeah, he's creeping up.
Yeah.
He is creeping up. Boba's creeping up behind that tree. If we can get a split screen at some point, I think we can kind of see this. Oh, boom, instant. Lovely. You can sort of see the 2 different sides of the battlefield here. And the overhead shot allows us to see the full Rebel forces, and they are really making use of a lot of these ruined temple bits. Good places for heavy cover, good places to block line of sight from enemy structures. And we just saw a handshake, and it is going to be round 1 in just a minute. So we're going to see those opening command cards. It'll be interesting to see how players come out of the gate.
It's on.
It is on. I'm excited.
So checking ranges.
Yeah, you can pre-measure anything at any time. So with the range ruler, so why not? You might as well be as informed as possible. I love minis games because you get the trooper LOS. You get
your cheek on the table.
You get a lot of grown men peering through tiny battlefields. It's very good. I am a fan of that.
All right, so here we go.
And that is a first turn bombardment. I think that's a good play here. Not too surprising. No maximum firepower though. I don't think there's a great target for it on this round. Just given the way things are set up here.
Yeah. Veers looks like he's behind a line of sight blocker in the middle.
Yeah, is he right down there on the very bottom of the screen?
Yes.
Yeah, by that sniper team. That's a good spot for him to be. He can feed them aim tokens. Yep. Always a quality move. He's pretty safe. You want to keep him because he's got some good cards. He's a good scoring unit. And when the battle gets closer, he can take some pot shots and You know, that can do some work.
So why do you think Luke took improvised orders and strict orders on Veers? What's
That
combo
is a
look
really good question. You know, we've been talking about these lists being pretty definitive meta lists.
All right, so I think
And
I can see all
largely they are, but they both have a little bit of uniqueness to them, a little bit of personalization. Luke's got all that recon intel, which is quite good, and it looks like, you know, from everything that I'm seeing about Luke's list and playstyle, he wants control. He wants to be the one calling the shots about his own army. He wants to be the one calling the shots for your army. And Recon Intel is going to let him get that forward deployment. We've seen him use that very effectively to claim ground and hold it. That's a really good strategy for Imperials, because if they can be in a defensive position, they can aim and shoot every round, and that dramatically increases their offense. Improvised orders is going to allow him to get what he really needs to get. You know, on a round where he really needs Boba Fett but can't afford to play one of Boba Fett's cards, or give Boba Fett an order directly,
or doesn't want Boba
Boba Fett, right? If you pull, or if you pull out a sniper that you don't want to go quite yet, or you pull out a unit that you would rather hold back, it's going to give you that control. You can use it every round. So that's, I think, the improvised orders. And then strict orders is just a really great way to make sure that your stuff is getting all of its actions. If you're not going up against a heavy suppression list, which this Rebel list is not going to be giving out any suppression really other than Jedi Mind Trick that isn't just from straight up shooting. A lot of the times the most frustrating thing is to have a single suppression on your unit, and then you just don't roll the die, and you lose that. But strict orders takes care of that. And you know, he's got the ability to selectively issue orders to the units that absolutely need to get those two actions. So I like it. I mean, it's all of this list is geared towards keeping things happening the way he wants to happen in a very random environment, in a very chaotic battlefield. So really good opening coordinated bombardment, taking 4 stormtroopers off the field, dishing out some suppression. So nothing at all wrong with that opening salvo.
No, we haven't done any of that yet.
Do you have dice instead, perhaps?
Yeah, let's use
putting the wounds on the evaporators.
6-sided dice.
Oh, yes. That can be confusing when you have miniatures on the table.
Alright, so we're going to move into base contact.
Okay.
But yeah, you've got that HVAC repair crew getting those evaporators up and running.
We're going to recall here. We're going to shoot the DLT at that spot over there.
This one here.
Yep.
So command cards have to be the same match to match.
Yes, command cards are a part of list building. Those are set for the entirety of the tournament. I'm liking that dice bag. Both of those dice bags, bringing that Star Wars theme to the table.
Looks like we're getting range 4 out here.
Is that a measurement to Boba Fett, or are we just dealing with some DLTs?
I think the DLT range is checking.
Kyle's somebody who likes to have complete knowledge of everything before he makes a decision. So he'll do a lot of measuring, he'll do a lot of line of sight checking, he'll do a lot of checking in with opponent. It's all good stuff to make sure that everything is above board and everybody agrees about what is going on.
A lot of views of the back of his head as well.
Yeah, we're getting good looks. We're getting good looks at Kyle's hair today, for sure.
Thanks, Cam. I'm supposed to remind you again. Oh, I'm sorry. Did I do it again?
Yeah, it just helps out if you're...
No, I totally get it.
Yeah, your cowlick is becoming internet famous.
We were just talking about Kyle's hair.
Getting my head in my dome in front of the dice cam.
This is some sort of some rather interesting maneuvering, actually moving backwards. We've seen Kyle. He's a very cautious player. He likes to have his forces well protected. I think he took a look at this devastating lineup of firepower, and he said, "You know, that looks like a great position for you to be in. I don't want to charge into that. I'm gonna pass on that. So why don't you come fight me?" So that is very interesting. We talked about Luke, though, being the blue player in the extraordinarily unlikely event that no units are removed from the battlefield and all of the objectives are tied. Luke will win this game. So Kyle can't just ignore what's going on completely. Now that's with 3 snipers on each side of the board, that's an extremely unlikely occurrence. But definitely we're seeing Kyle play it safe here. Absolutely no reason to charge headlong into that Imperial bastion on the lower part of the field.
It's a fearsome gun line.
Yeah, it absolutely is.
So do we know where Luke is on the board?
I do not know where
Skywalker.
Luke is. Yeah, I know. It's been a little confusing. Unclear. There's another rebel unit just kind of flanking around. I mean, a big part of this game is just maneuvering into a decent position. Trying to make sure that your troops have the advantage and the opposing troops are on the back foot a little bit.
There's no blood in Star Wars, so.
No, absolutely not. And minis are defeated. When a mini takes a wound takes its last wound in Legion, it is merely defeated.
Although Force Awakens had blood in it.
I know. It was
Right?
dramatic. Well, I mean, honestly, New Hope has blood in it. Obi-Wan cuts that guy's arm off, and there's blood on that.
That's true, too.
There's blood on that cantina floor, almost immediately.
Doesn't make sense, though, right? Like,
Are you saying the wound would be instantly cauterized?
yeah, right?
Some would
It's a
leak
lit-
out first, though,
Would
right?
it? I don't know how that works.
I don't know how that works. Lightsabers aren't real, so we'll probably never know.
I have these 3.
It's always amusing to question the physics of the Star
Darth
Wars
Maul got cut in
galaxy.
half, and he somehow survives. His intestines
Yeah, it's fine.
didn't
He's
go
fine.
flying everywhere.
He's
Yeah.
good. Well, they cut him right below the vital organs.
Oh, I see.
Or something.
Something like that.
Who knows where
Yeah,
his
right.
he's got those robes on. You don't know where those legs start and stop. He's got really long legs.
So it looks like some sniper fire went through.
Oh, sorry guys. Lightsabers are real in your heart.
Yes.
It's the only place that matters. And some Darth Maul legs still looking for revenge. We had Darth Maul's voice actor Sam in the studio a few months ago. It was a lot of fun.
Neat.
Gave him a little tour. He mocked us mercilessly and got him. It's great. Thanks for coming. got a signed Darth Maul print behind us actually. So that was very cool to see. The real lightsabers are the friends we made along the way. Sneaky rebels be sneaking. So much cat and mouse on this mission.
Does Kyle have a medbot?
He has a single medical droid.
And Luke has no medical droids.
Yeah, Luke is I think the only player in the entire tournament who did not bring medical droids. He spent it on recon intel instead. He dropped what?
Good
10
that he-
points on recon
That
intel.
he
And
doesn't need medical droids.
well, you know, it's
Yeah,
interesting.
right?
Yeah, 10 points on recon intel and 10 points on improvised orders. That's
Yeah.
pretty much where you might see the 18-point medbot.
Yeah.
That's very interesting. But obviously that has paid off for him. He's got no backup plan if Boba rolls bad dice, though, in the way that lists with a lot of medical droids do.
Yeah. His game's just that much tighter.
Yeah, maybe so.
it's,
Yeah, maybe so. Or maybe he's getting enough advantage from all the other, from that 20 points or 18 points he carved out and used on other things. He doesn't, it's not too surprising, I suppose, because there's nothing quite as high value in his army as like a Luke or a Palpatine. I mean, Palpatine, I think, is crucial to have a Medroid in his force, but and very helpful for Luke as well. We saw Daniel's Saboteurs rely on triple stims, triple med bots. Like that's about as resilient as you can make a rebel list, right? In terms of bringing back specific models, anyway.
I got to play him yesterday, and it was a very interesting game, and it was the first time I played against triple.
Yeah,
Sabs.
how did you approach it? How did you deal with it?
I got lucky actually. Yeah. I basically got this mission.
Oh, sure.
And I got to play defensively.
Yeah, that does help a lot. Yeah, that does help a lot. Sabs are nasty though.
They were scary.
Kyle, I think, leveraged transmissions and a careful deployment in the semifinal match. I was watching that game 1 today, and yeah, I think that's a good tactic against Saboteurs. Hang back, be very, very careful, move in only when it is safe to do so. Because we watched other games against that Sabs list where, like, Davis Kingsley took several proton bombs essentially to his entire army, and that was pretty horrific casualties. Yeah, exactly.
Fireworks.
Absolutely. I think Luke and I rolled that a full triple whammy, full kablamo. It was impressive to see. Very curious to see where these rapid reinforcements are gonna show up. I think there's some interesting possibilities.
You probably won't see them for a while since you have to go through all the.
Well, especially since they both played 1 pip cards, they're not pulling much out of the stack.
Yeah.
So it'll pretty much be random when those come down. It could be any point really towards the end of their bag. It might be the very last thing they pull out. You never know.
Could be, yeah.
We're going to move up into base and send a DLT shot into the unactivated unit there.
Red?
Yep.
Okay.
So trying to throw suppression down.
Maybe get a lucky crit.
Yeah.
Suppression.
Yeah. Yeah, you might as well bowl those dice because crits against rebels is usually a dead rebel.
Yeah. We saw a lot of crits last game.
We did, didn't we?
That IRG squad, the Royal Guards.
Yeah,
what was it, 6 or 7?
They did not.
That was unbelievable.
They did not love that. That is for sure. Yeah, no, it's kind of interesting. Like that game, every bit of luck that Eric got in the previous round, like the game that we watched Eric, it was similar. It was versus Boba Veers. His Royal Guards managed to live through the entire game.
Wow.
He annihilated Boba Fett in a single round of Force Lightning. Like everything that went right for Eric yesterday went wrong for him against Luke.
His luck ran out. He used
it
all up
maybe
yesterday.
he used it all up, going 3-0. But I mean, it's a tough thing if you have 2 players playing at the absolute top of their game, doing everything right. That's when the dice come in as the tiebreakers. There's only so much you can do to try to put yourself in a position to win.
It's the magic of it, right?
Yeah,
it's
you still have to rely on a little bit of lady luck. Almost a first order looking color scheme on those range rulers. I dig it. That is true.
So advanced swap.
Yeah, just a chat pointing out that
Okay.
sabotage the moisture evaporators is a
It's a green
objective.
one, right?
It's blue. Advanced positions is the red, and rapid reinforcements is the green.
green,
So
okay.
those they fixed it. How about that? Perfect. I expect to see a lot of positional play, a lot of careful movement
Definitely.
here.
I mean, worst case scenario, take this one with you, even though it's busted.
Trooper unit. Yeah, I'll go with the blue squad here.
Yeah, the FFG overlay position is probably our highest turnover. It's brutal. It's absolutely brutal.
Squeak in there, I think. Well, maybe we can.
No need for forced choke. Minnesota is a quote-unquote right-to-work state, so not required. No need to go to extreme lengths.
We're gonna put these guys. Each sniper hasn't gone. Oh, you got two. Yeah. Alright, we're gonna put these guys like that. That's it. Go ahead.
Sneaking through the woods. This is a very, I think, thematic place to have a battle. This really does feel like, a kind of mission a rebel strike team would go on.
Yeah.
Assault this
We're just missing
Imperial
a bunker.
facility. Yeah. Funny you should mention that. That would look very cool.
I think the first game I played, the demo, had a bunker. It was a very similar
Yeah,
type
yeah.
of,
We built, actually, Bexley and John Schaefer. Bexley's one of our sculptors. John Schaefer is the miniatures department manager and also just sort of general hobby wizard god. Worked together to whip up a bunch of the corset terrain and some of the display stuff. And so, yeah, we had a bunker built into a hill for demos, and we still have that
very
table.
cool.
It's very cool. Yeah, so that's chat shutting out the Hoth demo table, looking really good. We got new demo tables lined up for Gen Con. We got Felucia and Geonosis. It's gonna be really sweet. Oh yeah, we're just sort of compiling a really awesome terrain library, which is exciting. You can always tell you're on the final table of a world championship because everything gets very quiet, very serious. I must say though, I've been impressed with the general just joie de vivre of the 8 of you. It's been a really fun weekend getting to know all you guys and the community spirit is alive and well. It's everybody's been playing like an absolute gentleman, and I've seen some just fantastic games.
It's been a lot of fun.
Yeah, all of the tables at LVO and Adepticon are community built and organizer provided and just a huge, wonderful effort. I was absolutely floored by the quality of the terrain at Adepticon, and I heard similar things and saw pictures from LVO as well. Some great looking stuff.
So are you going to LVO next year?
I hope so. I'm not sure. I know one of us will be.
Cool.
It's just a question whether it'll be Luke or I. So we'll have to see. But I just go where they send me. They send me all over the place, though. It's been pretty cool. I've been to England a couple of times.
Nice.
3 times actually. Gen Con, Adepticon. I was at Nova. Yeah, it's great. I love traveling. I love meeting new people.
So Nova this year will be pretty exciting.
Yeah.
That's the American Championship, Northeast,
Yeah, it's a major event. I am not.
Nationals.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not totally up to date on where things are going for OP because I know we have big plans for next year, so I don't want to get ahead of myself or misquote anything. But it's going to be some kind of big deal. I know that for a fact. It's an officially endorsed tournament. Lots of great prizes. Should be a ton of fun. Fun Walk saying Legion looks fun, but whoo boy, does it need a lot of table space. Yeah, that is true. It's designed as a full-scale hobby game for that kind of immersion. So you need a solid 6 foot by 3 foot area to play the full-size game. That being said, we do have a 500 point 3x3 format. There was an operation. If you're not familiar with the operations, those are the game night kits. They're kind of special missions. Wade Pichet has done all of those. Those are all available for free on our website under the product support page for Legion. It's called Operation Take the Hill, and it has its own little 500 point 3x3 battle builder.
Oh, wow. Cool.
It's a chart instead of cards, but it's the same battle system. And that is a format that allows you to play smaller, faster games. If you have a limited amount of time or table space, that's a great resource. Core sets allow you to play a 3x3 game pretty well. Pretty much everything you need for a 2-player small-scale game, at least to give you a taste of things and see if you like the action. And I am very hopeful that I will have a little bit of spare time to work on a more official, fully developed version of a 500-point game for stores that want to run smaller, quicker events. So that's definitely something that's on my radar. I want to make that happen. Yeah, and it's fun actually. I mean, we've played internally. We've been testing it out. We've been playing it, and it's a different game, but it still has all the same mechanics. It's still very robust. It's still a ton of fun. Luke and I played a 500-point game on a previous Twitch stream. You can go back into our FFG Live archives and see Luke wreck me with Sabine's bombs. It was going so well for me for such a long time, that game, and then explosions. Explosions. Well, I got too excited. I played coordinated fire, and instead of moving my guys away from danger like I should have, I did the thing that when you're not a world-class player, you do is you just get so wrapped up in your own strategy you forget to think about your opponents, and he certainly made me pay for that. It's still a close game, but that was a lot of fun. So yeah, we're hoping to do much more of that in the future. I think we've got a Clone Wars stream of some sort lined up for July, so a lot of fun content to come. Rogan Azrael says, good luck to Luke. He's a semi-local guy to my LGS, and he's crushed basically every one of our events at Millennium Games. Well, that's the mark of a good player. So I got a question from YouTube. What are my thoughts about the sniper meta? I'd say obviously when you see almost 3 of everything in every list, that is, I think there's one list that did not have.
That was mine.
Yeah, you're the only one who didn't bring 3 snipers.
Just 2,
and you had Death Troopers, which is a cool choice.
And IRG.
Yes.
So I had 4 special forces.
Yes, that is really interesting. I really enjoyed watching that. You had that really excellent pulling the strings suppression strategy, which is really fun. I mean, obviously it struggles against just the weight of numbers. I think you had the fewest minis of any list at the tournament, and that you can certainly pay for that. My thoughts are generally that anything that is that efficient, that is being seen that frequently, is probably overtuned and probably needs to be addressed. I can't say how we're going to do that. Certainly, I don't think it's a disaster for the game or anything. Obviously, there's a lot of strategy that goes into these things, but anytime you're seeing 3 ofs and you're seeing it in every single list. Oh, that's not true. Actually, we saw the sniperless saboteur list do pretty well too.
Right.
So there were two lists out of 8 that did not run full snipers, but even so, it's probably a few too many snipers for the overall health of the game. Not exactly sure how we're going to address that yet, but it's certainly on our radar.
No, this is me with Boba Fett being dumb.
Is Boba trying to get a cheeky shot through those ruins? This is the funny part about tabletop games, of course, is when you get down to that mini height level and you're trying to eyeball it through there.
Yeah.
And Brendan, of course, I don't know if he's been thanked loudly or longly enough. He flew all the way out here just to judge this event for us. Top-notch guy, absolute ironclad knowledge of the rules, and he brought a super laser, which, if you've been watching the streams, is that unbelievably bright mega laser that he's been using to check sight lines, and that's been fun to see. Yeah, this is a dense sport. It's beautiful to look at, but it presents a few challenges in terms of determining line of fire and moving your minis around for sure.
Do you still have your rapid squad, right?
I do.
All right, then I'm going to do my rapid squad.
Paracyclic says, good luck to Kyle, my college roommate and friend since middle school. That's a long-term friendship. So, yeah, good luck to Kyle. It sounds like a lot of people, fans of Luke and Kyle out there, rooting them on. I can say that having watched a bunch of both of them, a couple of top-notch gentlemen and great players.
So this looks like the rapid reinforcements.
Yeah, totally. Stormtroopers coming in, trying to make sure they're beyond 3 of all enemy troopers. Making sure. Actually, I believe he's just making sure that he's not going to be able to get shot by that squad.
Yeah.
And nothing flashy there. Just reinforcing his existing battle line. But I think that's a solid plan. He's pushing towards that middle. We'll see if the rebels do anything wacky or if they just drop him into the battle line as well.
He's getting ready for Luke to pop out at some point.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to worry about that. Luke's a powerhouse. And if Luke is able to sneak up behind some LOS block, he can really put the whammy down. Boba being such a great control piece to keep him in check somewhat.
So which bounty hunter do you think we'll see more play once Boss comes out very soon? Or we'll see both?
I think you're going to see a lot of both. I don't know if you're going to see a ton of Boba and Bosk lists. Yeah. It's a possibility, but I'm not sure if that's just too much invested into commanders that can't give commands except with that is not ideal when you're trying to make an army work. Bosk is a budget version, and he has long range. So I think it'll be I think you'll see plenty of both. I think it'll entirely depend on your play preference. Like we saw, I think it was LJ's Krennic list. Mm-hmm. That's a great place for Bosk. I think that's
very cool.
I think Bosk in that list is even better than Boba Fett because it's adding to that suppression mechanic. It's got longer range. And a lot of it will be meta dependent. If Luke is still super dominant, that whipcord launcher is really, really helpful.
I don't see Luke going.
I sure don't. I don't either. He's a fantastic mini, and I have very few problems with that. I mean, he's such an iconic character. The fact that he's a core set commander who is still incredibly viable and popular, that's a good thing. Vader may need a little nudge to get him into similar territory, but it is really nice to see Skywalker on the table. Yeah, I expect Bosk will be very, very popular. He's strong. He's fragile, but he has so much range that he doesn't have to worry about getting up close and taking those hits.
He's also good in melee.
He's amazing in melee, actually, which is a factor. I mean, like when he can, pop a reptilian rampage out of nowhere and tear into you if you get too close to him. That's very, very versatile and fun. He is a really cool character. I'm excited to see him hit the table. Yeah. I love the bounty hunters. Anyone who knows me knows that they're like my favorite dudes. So I have now gotten to design bounty hunters, all of the bounty hunters in X-Wing, Armada, and now I'm getting rolling with Legion. So and I saw that IG droid in the Mandalorian preview, and so exciting.
Oh, okay.
I'm hoping at some point that means
unofficial teaser.
I have no idea if and when we'll ever be able to do that, but I'm just happy to see it.
Very cool.
I'm just glad to see it out there in the world. I mean, if it were up to me, I would do them all. You get Forlom and Zuckuss even. They're always like the last to show up. They're like I think they're the last ones released in like the Black Series and stuff. They get short shrift a little bit, but I love those two. Dengar's a little bit higher profile, I think, than Zuckuss and Forlom. Dengar's been in some of the newer comics.
Okay.
He's a big fight with Chewie and Han. He seems to be, for whatever reason, a more latched onto character. I think there's been a few more stories about him and the like. But yeah, Dengar would rule. They all have such different equipment and personalities and stuff. Oh yeah, and of course Dengar was in the Clone Wars. So in the Clone Wars TV show, there's like this, there's like junior high school Boba Fett and a bunch of older bounty hunters. Bosk sort of takes this parental role for him, and Dengar's kind of just like the party guy of the crew. It's pretty funny. So Dengar's in canon, canon multiple places. So that would be kind of cool to see. And yeah, a lot of those bounty hunters cross eras. Boba Fett, there's a Clone Wars version of Boba Fett as a young adult, which is kind of cool. Yeah, Zuckuss Forlom strike team. Absolutely, you would want those puppies to pair together. Knock out two in one. I can't imagine we'll get to them anytime soon, but hopefully someday.
So it looks like we're on round 2. Some new cards coming out. Ooh, coordinated fire.
Yeah.
Allies. So
very interesting. So Ames versus Dodges. It's a classic Rebel Imperial split. My ally is the Force, just a great flexible card. Where did I got sort of distracted by my love for bounty hunters. Where did those rebels end up? Did they just pop in rapid reinforced right to those front lines?
I was distracted as well.
I think they showed up on the upper left.
Okay.
Nobody did anything crazy with these reinforcements, which is probably wise. I'm always the player who would have been tempted to like drop it behind that tree in the lower left and just get saucy with it. I mean, it's not a good idea. but it looks tempting. I don't know. Just I think there's an impulse from certain players, and I'm definitely one of them, to like do cool stuff, even if it's not good, not a good idea. So you have to resist that if you want to win tournaments, of course. But
it's a true statement.
Yeah.
All right, so it looks like
These guys
Apostasis says, Alex, want to drop some X-Wing news for us? I don't know what I'm allowed to spoil. I know Epic's coming soon. That's really fun. I can tell you I've played a lot of that, and I love it. It's a much more robust system than it was in 1.0, and it was specifically designed for competitive play. 1.0 had a lot of focus on these linked campaigns and missions and stuff like that were more of a narrative story thing where it would progress and you would play a series of linked events. What we realized was, while that was a lot of fun, it was an enormous amount of development work, and it was not really conducive for replayability. So we shifted our focus to missions that are still objectives-based, because objectives make things much more interesting when you're at that scale. But they're all very focused on having a fun multiplayer experience. I know that there's modes for more than 2 players. I know that there's the ability to take cool formations and like wings of ships, and that huge ships are great but not required. I think it's going to be awesome. I don't want to get too much more into it because I haven't been following what's actually been announced for it, but I can tell you I really, really like it, and I'm excited for it to come out. How many years till Dr. Can't say. Just can't say.
Looks like a good roll from Luke here.
Yeah, that's solid. Absolutely. Is that a DLT situation?
So.
Yeah, and we got some defense dice. Rebels never like rolling those white dice. It's not what you want. Oh, red dice. Was this at Luke?
I guess so.
Must have
Luke,
been.
I think-
He's the only one in the army with red dice.
Right, yeah.
So it would have to be, right?
So Luke must be up pretty close then.
He's
He's behind the middle ruin there. with
Yeah,
the
let's see.
order token.
Let's take a peek at these other angles here and see if we can get eyes on Luke here.
Oh, there he is right there.
Oh yeah, look at
The lightsaber.
that.
So he issued an order to himself, got a dodge.
Yep,
and
which
then
was
that-
smart.
Yeah.
They are within range 3, Luke. Yep.
Yeah, but they're able to like get these little chip shots on him, and that's it's unfortunate for Kyle. So far, so good for his saves, but
Within range 3 of these guys.
very interesting. Aggressive play with Luke. I mean, Luke is one of his power pieces, so having him move into position is important, very important.
He also has the courage bubble, which keeps,
Oh yeah, yeah. Nobody runs with Luke on
yeah.
the board. That's very nice. Where's 3PO and R2? They're taking their time. They're slow. They don't move
We
quickly.
can see Luke from their current
Definitely not.
Have you seen C3PO try to run?
I think he only has one speed.
Absolutely.
Oh, it's suppression on Luke as well.
Oh, yep.
Asking whether we might see some of the characters from the Solo movie, Kira, Beckett, potentially, Mud Troopers. Again, can't talk for sure about future releases, but I can tell you that if it's cool, we want to do it.
Mud Troopers
And
would be
Mud
cool.
Troopers are pretty cool,
Like
aren't
a,
they?
Like a cheap.
Yeah,
choice
Imperials
for
lack
Imperial? Yeah.
lack that kind of cannon fodder unit at the moment because Stormtroopers are they're not wildly expensive, but they are not they are
Rebel
not
troopers,
Rebel
yeah.
troopers, and they're certainly not B1 battle droid level inexpensive.
Mm-hmm.
And giving the Imperials a more affordable unit to perhaps just concentrate on objectives or holding some fortified position. I think that would open up some interesting gameplay. So, what I love about this game and what I love about the fact that we're in such a Star Wars renaissance right now
It's
is
amazing, right?
oh, it's so
Yeah, it's
amazing. I mean, it's like
New stuff.
so cool.
Couple months.
And you know, as a fan, that's awesome. And as a game designer who's been working on Star Wars games for 6 years, it's amazing. I'm so psyched about it. Like, honestly, like it's such a split focus for me because when I go see the new films and stuff, half of me is excited for the experience, and the other half of me is like mentally taking a million billion notes about how do you translate this into game mechanics? What can I grab? What does this mean for me? Because I love game design. I think it's incredibly fun, and I'm always looking for new opportunities to do cool stuff on the tabletop.
So Solo had an enormous amount of new.
Tons of stuff.
new-
Yeah, you've
Yeah.
got the Min Band Stormtroopers, slightly different armor pattern. You've got range troopers with those like magnetic boots.
Oh, and the
and
yeah,
the, and
train,
the, and
yeah.
the like the snow gear, and you've got the mud troopers and the kind of grunt imperial officer type guys. You've got that sort of artillery. What is the AT-DT?
I'm not sure. But
It's
it
basically
can
like
jump,
an open
right?
platform. It's like an open platform artillery thing. That sounds pretty rad. On the potential rebel side of things, you've got Enfys Nest looking amazing, and that whole gang of just like super cool costumes and giant swoop bikes. And, oh yeah, it's it's just great. And every time they release something, it's just a treasure trove for us.
No, I'm sorry. This guy can see the gun.
Really enjoy
This
that.
guy can see everyone except the back guy.
Major Smexy says magnetic boots upgrade. If someone flips the table, you don't fall off. Yeah, crucial. Absolutely crucial. I mean, I'm already giving all of my miniatures magnetic boots. I got those rare earth magnets for easy transport.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So I'll be all set when range troopers come out.
Just
It'll
don't
be
have
very on
anyone
theme.
toss your box.
Yeah, no, nobody's doing that on my watch. Hopefully, no. Those magnets are so strong. I've taken display cases just on airplanes and thrown it in the overhead, and they've been totally fine.
Okay.
Especially in plastic minis, they don't really go anywhere. Neodymium, no joke. How often do you consume Star Wars? Well, professionally, constantly. Like every day. For pleasure, it's I'll see I usually see the new movies a few times, and then I watch specific scenes for research purposes quite a bit.
Here comes the
Question is
super
what-
laser.
Yeah, super
Whoa,
laser.
that's bright.
No kidding, right? I told you. Legitimately incredible.
Heavy or light.
I think Sean Morris is like watching from home, worried that his terrain's going to ignite.
Why? Well, because 3 would be
So there's
3
one.
would be in light.
And so if it passes through the base of the terrain, are you saying that it is light cover, as opposed to if it touches the tree, it's heavy? Is that what I'm understanding for your agreement? Okay.
That's what we decided before.
Okay.
That's how I.
And we are hearing yet again. Players came to a consensus at the start of the game. That's exactly what you want to do, especially at a tournament. So then there's no hurt feelings or ambiguity or frustration when something's not working the way you think it should.
Yep.
So then you can just call the judge over to make a definitive line of sight ruling, and you're good. You're good to go. The Grand High Marshal is super effective.
So, ooh, 2 crits from the Z6.
Nasty.
2 hits.
Yeah, cover's not going to help too much about. Oh, so at least one failed. I'm just going to drop a Stormtrooper. Decent result, actually, from a shot into heavy cover. Yeah, both sides just chipping away at each other, kind of doing that slow dance around each other, trying to come to grips with the best position. Nobody's committing super hard to anything yet, and I think we're going to see some real drama on turns 3 and 4.
I forget. Is this area?
Based on how I'm seeing this play out, I'm guessing turn 4 will be incredibly decisive.
Then you have the cover. Okay.
It's almost like a reverse snowball effect, right?
Yeah, it
kinda
depends.
unwinds.
Yeah, it depends. Like Legion is a very top-heavy game. Like the first few turns are really involved, and then stuff gets removed. The strategies become more locked. Depends on the game, though. Like sometimes you have almost all the significant action on round 2 or 3. Sometimes you have until round 5 until something really dramatic happens. We've seen it all over the place this tournament, especially when you have the real heavy hitters in the game. You got Luke on the table. You got Palpatine on the table.
Palpatine's definitely
Palpatine
late
in particular. Palpatine's a late game monster. We watched Eric, lose a ton of his army and then be able to get into position to completely turn the tables with Palpatine, and that's really fun to watch. You obviously have a lot of experience with that. Is Palpatine your favorite commander? What made you decide to bring him to the tournament?
Well, my favorite was Vader.
Oh,
and,
sure.
And then Palpatine came out. And it was just like, it's kind of a better Vader. So.
I would agree. Palpatine's just more competitively viable.
Yeah.
We at that point in development, we knew a little bit more about the game. We had been able to see what Vader's weaknesses are. I will say, without giving too much away, Vader will be getting some help from some future content that is
That's
very
exciting.
Very fun,
So let
and
me ask
I
you
am
this,
excited about it.
Will Palpatine and Vader together be a viable
I don't know if it will be
list?
viable, but I do know that it's really fun.
Okay.
And I do know that it's going to get a little easier in the future and a little bit more
Very cool.
dramatic. So, yeah, I mean, I love a Vader Palpatine list. It's not going to win you in a lot of tournaments because it's just got no margin for error and very few scoring units. But boy, is it fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think one of the cool things about this event I'm noticing in chat, talking about terrain and talking about their own tables, I'm a big fan of some high-density tables. I think it adds to the strategy. I think it makes for a more interesting game. Obviously, play the game the way that you like. To taste, definitely, it's meant to be enjoyed in whatever fashion players wish. But this, to me, is a pretty close to ideal Legion table just in terms of density. You could go a little denser. You could go a little lighter. But somewhere in this neighborhood it makes for a nice game.
And those guys have how many in the squad still?
How many members?
Yeah.
4.
Shout out, pushing hard to get Legion big all the way out in South Africa. Kapow!
Wow.
That's great. That's awesome. Good luck. Make it a worldwide phenomenon. I am getting a lot of feedback from all over the place. It's pretty amazing. It's a big old planet, but much more connected than it's ever been in human history. So that is both cool and a little bit scary sometimes.
And red. And that's
So we'll see how effective the coordinated fire turn here is. That can be
Yeah.
a
Yeah,
savage
I
card.
think it can be absolutely savage. I think Kyle is playing very well. He's not going to allow the Imperials to have a lot of devastating shots on him, and that's very smart, I think. Again, very cat and mouse so far. This This is pretty indicative of sort of rebel guerrilla tactics. You do not want to be giving the Empire a chance to blast you with all of its stormtroopers.
Yeah, from what I've seen from Kyle, he's a very conservative player.
Oh, very much so. Yeah, very much so. It served him very well against the Saboteurs, but will it serve him well against a list that has more long-range power than him? I don't know. Boba Fett is able to chip damage out while Luke and Leia have to get close. So I don't think he can play the whole game from long range. I don't think that helps him.
So do you think the bounty will come up in this? Do we know who was bountied by Boba?
That's an excellent question. I know Luke has been doing Luke Skywalker. He's been putting it on Skywalker generally. I don't know if that is different this game. Yeah, let's ask the people out in the field who received that bounty token. Oh, it's on Leia. Okay, so he's gone for the softer target this time. That's going to maybe limit her effectiveness. When you don't put the bounty on Leia, we've seen Kyle in previous games use her to really start blasting away. I would say Leia is infinitely more dangerous against an Imperial list than a Rebel list because Pierce and Sharpshooter 2 makes mincemeat out of pretty much every Stormtrooper and can even threaten Boba Fett pretty badly. But with bounty on her, that's a huge disincentive to Kyle. He's not going to want to get anywhere near Boba Fett and risk giving up a whole victory point.
Oh, what a great roll there.
Yeah, we'll leave it. Spend the aim.
Yep. All right, so 5 down.
So he spends the aim to not modify any dice so he can pass it to the next unit.
Yep. It's always good to do.
Yeah. Oh, a nice defensive roll there.
Yeah, getting some love from those white dice. Unusual. Yeah, so far this game really back and forth, quite even.
So, we're going to give the aim.
Like I said, I think it's really going to pop off in round 4. The wonders that our players have seen. Yeah, we really they all signed non-disclosure agreements. You're gonna have to wait for the marketing articles, but we did have a fun show and tell on Friday. It was very cool to pull out all the stuff we've been working on, and I can't give you details, but I can say that the excitement levels were high, and that's a good sign. I got a question about the defense. Why only 2 colors, not 3 for the attack? Well, one of the reasons is we always want defense to be a little weaker than attack, so the game moves. Granularity, we felt like the 2 different dice was sufficient granularity while keeping things simple. And then there's just realistic production concerns. More dice means more cost. Trying to get a $90 core set to consumers at a margin that we can accept to get people into the game.
There's tons of stuff in there.
There's a ton of stuff in that core set, and we already, I think there's like, what is it, 15 dice or something? Is it 3 of each in the core set?
3 of each, yeah.
That's, I mean, dice aren't cheap. Like, just, laying it on the line, they are not inexpensive. So that's always a concern. Like, we try to do a good balance of value versus quantity. And, it's interesting, stripping the granularity down to some pretty easy numbers. I was initially a little nervous about, there's only four range bands and then infinite range. So there's a little less, ability to scale things than other miniatures games. But I think what it has done is it has made me focus on the fundamentals, the command system, actions, and it's surprisingly more approachable. I was surprised by just how much the movement tools, range rulers, and custom dice make the game friendlier for newer players and for players who've never played minis games before. I actually had sort of discounted that effect, but I've heard a lot of that is the kind of thing that has pulled people in. So
I agree.
That's a big part. I think that's a big part of why we went the route we did. So I'm pretty happy with the way the defense dice shook out. The surges are, of course, on there to provide that extra amount of granularity, but you can't do, I guess the armor save that you could if you had just a normal D6. But I honestly don't think it's totally necessary. There's other ways to juke those stats.
So this is a sniper shot with an aim. Looks like someone went down.
got some some stretching going on. You got to stay limber. It's a long day. It's a long weekend. A lot of Legion.
You still have left. You have White and Boba, and both of these over here.
I will say I'm quite pleased that we are ending up with a Rebel on Imperial finale. That's just down to chance.
I think it's a balanced
yeah.
faction.
I think
right?
both factions have a good crack at taking overall for sure.
Yeah.
We saw a little more variety in the Imperial lists, but 4 Rebels, 4 Imperials, and here we are at the very end, 1-1.
Yeah.
Well, what am I doing? I need to touch this terrain anyway.
So I think I noticed some new custom dice coming out in the next organized play kit.
Yeah,
Right? That's
we're all
talking
about those.
dice,
We're all about
yeah.
those custom dice. Those have been very popular prizes in X-wing and Armada.
Yeah.
So of course Legion will get its share, and if it goes on long enough, there'll be dice on dice on dice. I don't even know how many X-wing custom dice we're on. I think, gosh,
5 or 6. Oh no, because you have regionals too, and then worlds.
it's like 7.
Is it
I
7?
think. I don't know exactly, but it's up there.
Yeah.
And then Outer Rim has a custom.
Well, so what happened with that, by the way? Because there's been a lot of
well, I'll tell you.
controversy online. Are they actually worlds? Are they even? Are they?
Oh, are you talking the dice in the Outer Rim board game?
Yeah, yeah.
I think they're just the same exact molds,
Okay.
shot with different plastic. There's no reason we would make new molds for anything. So they have as much variance as any manufactured die.
Okay.
We definitely don't manufacture dice to like Vegas standards.
Yeah.
It's a game. We're not running a casino here. So I would suggest if anyone is nervous about dice or worried about that, just push them all into a pool, share with your opponent, or use the Fantasy Flight Dice app, which is incredibly neutral and not subject to any kind of manufacturing
Double crit. Wow.
manufacturing variance at all. Brutal. Is that the sniper shot, I assume?
It looks
yeah.
like it.
Yeah, those snipers, double critting, nasty.
Okay. Dodged the bullet there.
So when Sabine comes out, who do you what kind of commander lineup do you think we'll see? Because
I think we're
Leia's
definitely going to see Leia Sabine
Yeah.
lists. I think we're going to see Sabine Luke lists because you can give her the
Ooh,
Darksaber
double.
and just go ham.
Wow.
I don't know how viable anything is going to be. I think there's a lot of. I think the beautiful thing is that we will see a lot more stuff. Explosions is really nasty. Explosions can be a real edge against this kind of gunline list.
Definitely.
And she's extremely durable. But again, Boba's a pretty good counter to Sabine because he can whipcord her. But Sabine has an electro-grappling cord as well.
That's right.
So she can be used as a nice control piece to stop enemy melee characters. Does that mean we'll see Luke fall out of favor potentially, since you have a slightly cheaper character who can also be a melee threat and a control piece? I don't know. Her command cards are not nearly as versatile. They're much more focused on her. She's gonna be good. I know she's gonna be everywhere because the model's beautiful,
Yeah.
and I've played with her. She's very effective, and she's very good at objective play. She doesn't do a lot of damage. She is not the kind of unlike Luke. She is not the kind of character that can just carve through an army. She's good. She doesn't put out no damage, but it's more like Boba. It's damage in the right place at the right time.
She's like a hybrid between Han and Boba, would you say?
A little
She's
bit, except
gunslinger?
minus the tricks.
Okay.
And perhaps in unit form, yes. But in terms of command cards, they play completely differently because she has very little ability to manipulate your opponent's decision making, other than with explosions.
Yeah.
All of her cards are like pretty straightforward. The suppression one's kind of nice. You get the ability to put that graffiti token down and make it harder for your opponents to remove suppression and make it a little easier for you to remove suppression. So I think if Bosk and Krennic become really prevalent, we see a lot of suppression. Yeah. That graffiti token could be a huge boon for your own side. You might want to put that on a piece of terrain that lets you, lets you get that suppression under control, I think. And, it sticks around all game, so you place it somewhere useful, and you're in pretty good shape. She's definitely strong. Bosk also quite strong, so we're going to see a lot. I think we're going to see a lot of the pair of them.
I think once Cavalry comes out too, you won't see as much of this gunline type of.
Yeah, that's that's the other thing. Right? Like Tauntauns can really mess with that. We're going to see a lot of variants. We're going to see some different lists out there. I think there's going to be a wild period of experimentation. Then I think we're going to see a few lists win major events and get copied, and we're going to see people counter those lists, and then eventually it's going to winnow down to the small handful of generally agreed upon very competitive lists. But that's always my favorite time is after wave releases, because then it's sort of the Wild West and everybody's trying fun stuff and experimenting and unlocking new combos, and it's always really rewarding to see that, and they're uncovering stuff that we didn't see, or it's stronger or less strong than we expected. So it's always really interesting to see how things actually play out of really excellent players. A question about how long Legion was in development before it was announced or released. A little over a year, I think, prior to the announcement, and then the original, or not the announcement, not prior to the announcement, but more than a year before release, because it was released a little later at Adepticon. I'll just answer it like this. I worked on it for probably almost a year and a half before it was done, and then it came out maybe 5 months after that, if I had to ballpark it. So it got a healthy amount of development time, of course. You never, speaking just for myself as a designer, I never feel like there's enough time. But if it was up to me, if it was up to me, I'm such a perfectionist, I would just be working on stuff for forever. So it's good that I have deadlines, because that means you guys actually get products.
Were you compelled to finish them?
Yeah. Well, let's just say they found new ways to motivate me. Good ways.
Oh. Good ways. Ooh, a crit in there.
A question about rerolls. Can you reroll a die more than once? Yep, there's no rule against rerolling a reroll. So if you have a stack of aim tokens, you can go wild.
Push those crits through.
Absolutely. So asking if we'd known it was going to be a Star Wars IP. Yes. No, we absolutely. It was designed from the ground up as a Star Wars game. We secured the rights to do the tabletop game. We talked all that through. And so I was told, we want you to make a Star Wars tabletop hobby-focused game. Not focused, but that incorporates that hobby aspect and is more of a proper war game. So yeah, no, absolutely always the plan from the start. So from the ground up, designed to be what it is. A question from Sploosh IRL. Knows I love bounty hunters, but do I have any new favorite characters in the Star Wars universe? Let's see. Out of the new movies, I quite like Kira, actually. Kira is an interesting character, and I want to see more from her. I like that she's morally ambiguous. I like that she didn't just decide to be with Han. She committed herself to a life of crime, and she's a survivor. So I like that kind of morally gray character. I think they're very interesting. I think they're a little bit more of the actual world that we live in, and that's always been what has drawn me. I mean, I love everything about Star Wars, but even as a kid, I was really fascinated by Jabba's palace, by the cantina in New Hope. Just that seedy Wild West, because I love Kurosawa films, I love Ronin, I love westerns, all the old spaghetti westerns, and so all those kinds of characters really appeal to me. So yeah, Kira's really cool. From Rogue One, I like Cassian and K2 a lot. I'm hoping that we'll get them in Legion at some point. They're really fun characters. Anything Alan Tudyk does cracks me up, so that's a blast. Jin's cool. Yeah, I would say that's and then in terms of new movies, I really like Kylo Ren. I think Kylo Ren is a really great villain because he is He's conflicted about it in the way that Luke is kind of conflicted about being a hero, and I thought that was a very genuine. I think he has a very genuine emotional arc, and I really like the way that they have handled his character specifically. And I think Adam Driver's a great actor too, so I've enjoyed his character very much.
Yeah, Luke just
took 2
last
damage.
turn, yeah.
2 damage total. Okay, you've got the medic droid still in play, but that's never good to start getting the hurt piled up on your heavy hitter there. He does have stims.
So what Luke Cook's done here is he's kind of created a control in the middle,
we'll take a shot at white.
and still has a defensive position here.
Luke just healed now.
Okay. So Luke Skywalker was just healed.
Boxes are light, so I think
Yep.
it's just light cover.
And they've agreed light cover for the boxes. Less heavy duty than the barricades and the stone walls.
So we got a crit in there. Hit. One block.
Mm-hmm. Chipping away. This is I think the game of all the games we've watched. This is more like a war of attrition than any of them. This is very much just a rolling firefight, and everybody's bunkered down. So not too many casualties are happening, but we're moving towards that inevitable crescendo, I think. We'll see how it goes.
These guys have a dodge on them. Is that right?
Yeah, and actually, then yes, those guys have a dodge.
Gotten a lot of questions, all weekend about balance. Different commanders seeing play or not seeing play. Like all of our competitive games at this point, I think we've kind of come to the consensus that it is good for the overall health of the competitive game to make certain changes and try to expand the viability of all list archetypes. So without getting into details, yeah, I would like to address things like that. The trick, of course, is to do it in a way that is not heavy-handed. There is currently no app for Legion, so there's no way to just change everything. So that's just, that's a discussion that we're having. But definitely something that we have our eye on. We've found that it's good for these kinds of games to receive periodic updates to make them more balanced, to bring underused characters into play. So Legion's no exception to that, and so that's definitely something to look forward to, especially now that we've had a full year of competitive meta observation under our belt. We've kind of seen what is and isn't working, and what does and doesn't need help. We have a lot more information at our disposal in order to make those decisions at this juncture.
We're gonna play it safe. Over here.
And I will also say that, this final Worlds level tournament is a little bit more calcified, a little bit more limited in terms of the list, because in any major competition, you are trying to remove uncertainty. You're trying to play with the things that you are sure are the absolute most efficient unit.
Yeah.
So I think that Luke and I talk about the kitchen table meta, the home meta. In terms of what is like the la creme de la creme of competitive viability, that may be somewhat narrow. But I actually think the game is in a very healthy place at even when it comes to like more small tournaments. I don't think that there's a single commander you can't win a tournament with.
Oh, sure.
I think Vader might be the hardest, just because he's so expensive and he requires you to do everything with him exactly correctly because of his slow speed. But even he's a powerhouse in the right situation. So I don't think that there's any commander that's truly non-viable. But that being said, we definitely want even these high-level events to feature a lot of different characters and playstyles. It's a Star Wars game, and the personalities are very important to me. Everybody has a favorite Star Wars character.
Oh, yeah.
And we want, if those characters are in the game, we definitely want them to be usable. Is this Luke making a break for it? getting up there.
Looks like it.
Wow.
Wow.
All right. Well, this is going to be
Here we
very decisive because
Here we go.
Luke is just cannonballing into these units.
And he looks like he's charging these stormtroopers.
Yep. And now once Luke is into this gun line, he's actually force pulling.
Oh.
That's very interesting. So yeah, that's going to let him, make an attack because of the order of operations there.
So there's a single move, force push.
Yep.
And now he can attack if he wants.
I believe so.
Or is that a double move, force push, so he didn't get? So
I'm not sure. I missed the first
too.
part of this. So we'll see how this shakes out in a moment. But the nice thing about this is Luke is incredibly hard to defeat once he's in that melee combat. He's only taking a limited amount of attacks in a turn. So I think Kyle have seen in previous games, he's more concerned with using Luke as a disruptive force. I mean, it's very fun to pull out his lightsaber and knock down stormtroopers. It's absolutely a joy. But, in the previous game, what we saw a very tactical Luke hiding behind terrain, using his Jedi powers in a more subtle way to put down suppression, to pull units around the corner so that they could be shot,
Force push is
Force push
fantastic.
is absolutely clutch. It's absolutely one of the reasons Luke is as powerful as he is, and it's very thematic. I really enjoy that sort of core Star Wars power. It can be used so effectively. And one of the exciting things about designing future Force powers, and especially with the Clone Wars, with all the Jedi characters and the Sith characters, is the ability to keep creating new Force upgrades. Because, of course, every time we do that, we test it on all the old Force-using characters as well. And we spoiled a little bit of something yesterday, talking about Force guidance.
How does that work?
Yeah, so for Force guidance, you're going to enjoy this, actually. So it is power. It's exhaustible.
Okay.
I believe it is either 10 or 15 points. I can't remember where we landed, but it passes out surge tokens to 2 units at range 1, including yourself. So and so with Palpatine, of course, you can do that every single round. Passing out surge tokens to Royal Guard, to
Can you stack it?
Yeah, can't remember. I went through a lot of iterations, of course, because it's quite powerful. But yeah,
so
that's the general. Surge tokens are a totally new token. Something we had planned specifically for the Clone Wars. Many of the Separatist and Republic units have no surges whatsoever on their unit cards, and that's definitely by design. Because a lot of the fun new mechanics are the ability to pass out surge tokens in specific ways, which sort of lets you concentrate your defense and your offense on very vital units during a turn. So generally,
it's like a focus token from X-Wing.
It's very similar, actually. It's actually exactly like that, except unlike a focus token, it only allows you to change one surge result.
A calculator.
It's a 1-for-1. Yeah, exactly. We got an X-Wing player here. Yeah, no, it's no secret. We borrow effective mechanics from our other games. There's a lot of I'm trying to think of a word that doesn't sound like a pejorative, but all my brain is giving me is cross-contamination.
It's almost like you developed X-Wing as well, right?
Yeah, it's almost like I worked on a few of these things. No, I like to call Legion my Tarantino mixtape of a game because I just took cool stuff I liked from everywhere. And that's how he approaches a lot of his genre films, and that is pretty much how I approached this miniature design. I loved the command card kind of system from Warhammer Disc Wars of all things. I like alternate activation games. There's certainly some in here, like the movement tools and certain ways that things function, but there's a little Dust Warfare DNA in this game. There's a lot of X-Wing DNA, and moreover, there's just sort of over time, since the same people have been in the department for a very long time, there's kind of just almost a natural house style for Fantasy Flight Games miniatures games, and I think that's that's kind of helpful because if you play one, it's very easy to make the transition into another one.
Definitely.
And it's great for us as designers because we're not dealing with unknowns. We're dealing with stuff that we already understand pretty well. So it's kind of cool to see that sort of happen. I mean, I think. Other companies have similar things. They have a shared approach to a lot of their different games, and that's an interesting facet of working with a lot of the same creative people for very many years.
Any other force powers you can share with us?
I can tell you there's a new dark side power and a new light side power, neutral.
Okay.
Those will be available to all factions, and they're on the affordable side, and I don't believe they exhaust. So that's something that is useful for a slot that maybe you have a lot of force slots and you only have Master of the Force 1, so you don't want to take too many exhaustible force upgrades. So it's going to give a few more options. I think it's it's nothing crazy. It's not. There's nothing. I don't think there's none of these new force powers are on quite the level of force push in terms of just game changers. But we don't really want them to be. Force users are in a pretty good spot, and this is just more tools in the toolkit.
You don't want them too powerful.
No,
right?
it's a very. I can tell you, it is a very delicate balance. And one of the things that we did. One of the mechanics that I'm the happiest with, and it was a very late change in the development cycle of the game, is the way that deflect works. Deflect was always spend a dodge token, your surge results cause wounds, but for a long time the Jedi were rocking a natural surge save. So they just had this heavy armor, and it was really tough because they had to cost too much. They were susceptible to dice variance. It was frustrating, and by coupling both the extra defense by gaining the surge and the power of causing wounds, by pairing that's a natural pairing, and it let us cut their cost, and it makes their play much more tactical. Because
way more interesting,
yeah, it's way
sure.
way more interesting. So that's the kind of eureka moment that happens from time to time. And that's so the force users always, of course, a high priority. We definitely want them to be good, but we definitely don't want them to dominate. They're making a great showing at this tournament. Obviously, a lot of Lukes, a lot of Palpatines. But the nice thing is we have some non-mystical commanders here on the top table doing just fine, and that's where we want it.
So I think Kyle's in a great position here with Luke.
Yeah, this is pretty awesome.
Has pretty much almost full control as to what is going to happen with Luke here.
I think Kyle's playing a very, very smart game. If Luke doesn't fall victim to some really bad dice rolls, he can really control. The whipcord did not come into play. Luke was not able to stop Skywalker from hitting his army, and now he is in. I think this is actually the most effective use of Luke we've seen on stream thus far. Just because he has the potential to tear through this army.
And I think that's why you see him in every Rebel list.
Because if you can get into this position, it is money.
And they've been playing with him since the start, so they have the most
so
experience.
much familiarity, absolutely.
And it's a brainer.
No, he's really interesting because he was always developed, from a design standpoint. My goal with him was he's in this sort of transitional period. He's basically modeled Empire Strikes Back, Cloud City style Luke. Maybe he has undergone Yoda training at this point. So my vision for him was more like Cloud City. He's been through some battles. He's gotten military experience as a commander of the Alliance, but he's being pulled in multiple directions. He's being pulled towards Force training in the Jedi way, but he still has his military training, his dedication to the Rebel Alliance. So he was always intended to be this kind of in between. He has military options, but he also and gear, but he also has he's starting to learn how to use his incredibly powerful natural force abilities. So and that's how he plays in a way.
So what do you think the command cards are going to be coming out? Because this is
good question. Could be Son of Skywalker. Son of Skywalker is not a bad choice. One of the things about Son of Skywalker is it lets you take minis off the board, and that is the kind of burst attrition that means if you can get it. This is round 3, right? Yeah, getting a lot of units defeated in early rounds means that's that many rounds they're not shooting at you. So I can definitely see a Son of Skywalker play here. Maybe trying to counter it with a whipcord, just so that he can't move. Even though he's already in combat, if you can whipcord him and freeze him up, that's pretty useful.
One thing I just noticed is that Veers is actually
right there. Yeah, I know.
To
Yeah,
Luke.
So if I was Kyle, I might try to take Veers out, just because you're taking his command cards away. He's a scoring unit. He's buffing things with aims. But you could also just yeah, exactly. And maximum firepower hasn't come out. So if you're and I think is it just maximum firepower for Veers? I believe it is.
Oh, is it?
They only took the one card, but even so, it hasn't been played. I think the rest are on the back.
Oh, here we go.
Yeah, coordinated fire, all of Boba Fett's cards. and push. Yeah, he's got a neutral card in there. So there's only one Veers card, but it hasn't been played. It's a powerful card. And removing Veers removes Inspire. It removes Take Aim, which is very strong. So yeah, absolutely. And he's worth a fair number of points. Just as a unit, he's what is he in here? 95 points. If it comes down to it.
All that control goes away with improvised.
Yeah, you lose strict orders. You lose improvised orders. Taking out Veers is not a bad play. Not a bad call. We'll see how it plays out. This is going to be very, very interesting. So I think if I was Luke, I might play Whipcord and just, but we've seen it, haven't we? We've seen Return to the Jedi and Push. So no big splashy plays from Luke. But this is going to give his army control, and it's going to give him dodge tokens. And that's very
so
important as
yeah.
well. Yep. And then Push, I think, just being played in order to have more control over the list. That's
so
important
you
as
can
well. Recover is very useful.
To get Force Push back.
Yes.
And
Yep. So, yeah, Kyle's in a great place here, but he has to hope that Luke can survive. So Return of the Jedi, great card, lots of order control, dodge token, and, better yet, it's going to remove a bunch of suppression tokens. So if a bunch of suppression happens, Luke can remain safe in melee until, later activate to remove that suppression and keep your army operating at 100% efficiency. So some good choices here. Didn't go the power route of just slaughter with Son of Skywalker, but that leaves that card in his arsenal in case Boba Fett comes and messes with him. Yeah, it definitely gives him... and because the bounty is not on Luke, Kyle is free to be way more aggressive with him without worrying about that victory point. He can, if Luke goes through this army like a hot knife through butter, even if he's eventually defeated,
2 blanks.
If he does enough, that is going to be sufficient. So picking off some more rebels though.
So
Definitely.
back. Is that a sniper team?
I think that is a DLT Stormtrooper squad. It's Boba Fett below a normal squad of... actually, I think so. I think that's just a DLT. I could be wrong. It's hard to tell. Is it any clearer on the other? No, not really. We can ask. We'll ask the people on the floor what unit is currently...
I think that was a DLT because I think the red dice were rolled.
Sure. Sniper-wise, I think if I'm looking, I see one in the foliage there, on the bottom middle. I don't know where his other sniper teams are.
I'm not going to go with them. I'm going with these guys because they have an order.
That range ruler is making me want to go. Really want a rocket pop
You're
right
right.
now. It's a strange craving. Oh, you're very welcome. Someone thanking me for hanging out all day. Honestly, it's no skin off my nose. This is a very fun weekend for me. I love hanging out. I love seeing all this stuff in action. But it's nice to be appreciated. So thank you. It's good to be here. So chat says, "Oh, yep, bottom right, some snipers. They're camouflaged pretty well. In those ruins. Actually, they're a little hard to pick out. I kind of love and hate this board as a streamer because it looks amazing and is so thematic that you can literally hide units in it.
Yeah.
But we spent like a whole game playing Where's Luke previously because we did not know. We did not know where he is. I think most of this action is pretty easy to follow as things coalesce. I did lose track of Leia. Where is she hanging out these days?
I think she's up there.
She's playing it cool.
Yeah.
She doesn't want to get that bounty, and that is wise. She is valuable. Would be nice to move forward and do some damage with her, but much more important not to get that victory point lost. Pointing at Leia. Okay, yeah, there she is. I see her long pistol poking out there. Great, thank you. Yep. So yeah, she's in no real immediate Boba Fett danger, but she could be a late game. She could be a very important late game piece just to get in and chip a little damage in a critical place.
I don't think Luke's paying any attention to Leia right now.
No, not at all.
Luke
not at all.
Skywalker's in this
Well, that's I mean, that's the beautiful thing, right? Like, there's no reason to worry about her when you got her brother.
Yeah.
Brother drawing all that attention. So
a lot
this
of hits
is
on that roll. It looked like a
Z6, I imagine.
Yeah.
And a very mean roll. He's gonna have to have some good saves
that's a lot
here.
of dice. A decent roll.
About average, yeah.
Yeah.
A little better than average. But
Is that with the squad? No?
Almost.
Almost.
Almost. I think Kyle is starting to put a lot of pressure on Luke here. I think this is starting to really, obviously anybody's game at this point, but I do think it's breaking Kyle's way, at least at the moment. Was there a wardrobe change? There was a wardrobe change. I'm in a different gray suit today. The other one was an asymmetrical two-clasp number from Rogues of London, and today I'm wearing a J. Crew standard Ludlow three-piece. So you know, keeping it a little simple, a little bit more subtle today. But I have 3 suits total. I do not have a suit for every day of the week. I am a game developer, and I am paid what a game developer is paid. So,
So it looks like the Rebel gun line right now is doing a little bit more work.
yeah, well,
with the Z6s.
again, I think this is down to well,
It's the
Kyle's
range 3
Kyle's
engagement
having
now,
very
yeah.
good luck with the Z6s, so that's part of it. But the other part of it is, if you'll notice, Kyle was very good at this last game. He has brought his army in smoothly. He's made sure everything has cover, and he's made sure that everything of his gets to fire. Luke has a number of units that are held back. They're not getting great shots. So what that allows him to do is it allows him to sort of mow down these front ranks. And because the army's sort of getting fed into him piecemeal, he's able to be really effective with that. There's not a lot of stuff that can come back at him. So he's doing very well on this board. He's really playing to the Rebels' strengths. Because the Rebels, if the Rebels can force the Imperials to move, mathematically they're going to win those exchanges.
Yeah.
Because Rebel attacks are stronger. They're just mathematically stronger without an aim token. With an aim token, they start to approach a more even level, and of course the Rebel defense isn't as strong. But if he's able to continue to get these excellent shots, you know, I think he's playing this game very, very well, and he's thrown in the X factor of a fully armed and operational Luke Skywalker right in the heart of this Imperial battle line, and that is also, you know, protecting his Rebel soldiers. He's able to leverage the full advantage of their offense while making sure that Luke is so distracted by Luke Skywalker, the miniature, that he's not getting as much firepower on these Rebel targets. So again, a really great game here by Kyle. I am seeing no tactical mistakes on his part whatsoever. Just very smart plays, very great use of cover, and you know, Rebel guerrillas creeping through the woods. We've all seen the movies. We know stormtroopers have a tough time with that. I got a question from the YouTubes. Do I have a dream unit that I would make? I mean, other than every bounty hunter? Jabba the Hutt would be cool, wouldn't it? I don't know what he'd be doing on a battlefield, but that would be
immobile.
That, right? Yeah. Or I'd be on some sort of hover cart, borne by his motley crew, and maybe that's just more from a miniature standpoint. I'd love to paint up a Jabba. That's a hard question for me to answer because I have to consider the hobby side of things. What do I want to paint personally? What do I want to play with? What do I want to design for? I think Enfys Nest would be a lot of fun. She's just cool looking, and I actually like characters with a lot of history and a lot of backstory, but I also like characters that are a little more thinly sketched because that lets you play around with them a little bit more, or lets you define them to some extent.
You're more creating them.
Yeah, but man, that's
interpreting them.
Such a tough question. Such a tough question. I will say, Lando, of course. But he's a no-brainer.
Oh yeah.
He one of my obviously you gotta have Lando. Can't have Star Wars without Lando Calrissian. And of course he's just a lot of fun. So many capes to choose from.
He's like a whole wardrobe.
Oh yeah, I've seen his Falcon.
Yeah.
Gorgeous, bespoke.
That is a tough question.
It's so tough. It's so tough. The real answer is like all of it, everybody. But Trioculus would be sweet. Trioculus would be a dream come true.
That'd be so dumb. It looks like
I don't think he's on the table anymore. I don't think Disney would let that fly. Thought to a Sarlacc terrain piece. Sounds dope.
That would be really cool, actually.
That's all I can say. We did talk a little bit earlier about Star Wars terrain and how we are in a great position to do Star Wars specific stuff, licensed, accurate, vetted by LFL, movie accurate terrain. And Sarlacc Pit would rule.
That'd be like almost like an active terrain piece that would come after you.
Yeah,
that would be a little wild, right?
one of the cool things would be, because whenever one of the things, of course, we have terrain guidelines in the rules reference, and a lot of people make up their own rules. We've kept it deliberately fairly loose, but every time we do a specific terrain piece, like barricades, like the downed ATSD, we come up with specific rules for it.
Sure.
Because when we create something, we know its exact dimensions, we know exactly what effect it will have, and we can commit to more concrete rules. So something like a shield generator or a Sarlacc pit or, any number of sort of Star Wars-y things that would have more of a tabletop game effect. Absolutely, yeah. So I imagine the Sarlacc would be some sort of new dangerous terrain that could potentially make an attack at range, 1 with those grasping tentacles. I'm just spitballing here, but sure, possibilities are endless. And I also encourage people. This is something I always did when I was a kid, having no idea that someday I'd have this crazy job. But, when we played miniatures games, we would always develop sort of custom rules and scenarios and terrain ideas. So we would always have crazy tables that we just built out of blocks and various things.
So it looks like Luke's
withdrawing.
withdrawing.
Let's get back to the game. This is getting exciting.
This is a pivotal turn here.
Is he gonna pull that? Is he gonna pull Mr. Veer? He's boogieing. Oh no! Sorry, I got confused. Luke the player is withdrawing the stormtroopers from Luke the miniature, which leaves him out in the open, albeit with a face-up command token and a dodge token. So no real danger for Luke. And actually, this leaves Luke Skywalker free to decide to maybe go somewhere else. But does it forend a little bit? Does this require him to activate Luke next to get back into the safety of melee combat? It'll be interesting to see what Kyle does here, because Luke has forced his hand with Luke.
He's like, is Luke gonna go? Is the question?
Yeah,
here.
Yep. That's exactly what Cook has imposed upon Kyle here.
So it looks like he is, because he's measuring with him, right?
Oh yeah, we got some questions about the plastic. In Wave 6, in the new core set and the units released right around the same time as the new core set, the clone troopers and one are the existing PVC, but the droids, all of the droids, Grievous, the droid units, droidicas, everything, are in the hard plastic. And of course the Bark Speeder itself is in hard plastic. But moving into Wave 7 and beyond, everything is in hard plastic. So all the Separatist units, all the Republic units, all Rebel units, Imperial units, it's just going to be the new standard for the game.
That's fantastic.
Yeah, I'm really excited about it. It took us a while to get there, to get the technology, the training, to decide to make that move into a slightly less accessible product. But the advantages are enormous. The fidelity is much higher. The details are really crisp. No more bendy lightsabers.
Oh yeah.
So you've got posability. Oh yeah, here we go. Let's get back into it. I could ramble all day, but let's look at the action.
From Luke Skywalker charging in, and it looks like 4 wounds. Well, 4 blocks. Is he going to use Pierce?
That is very interesting.
So he took out 2.
Yeah, Pierce 2.
Okay.
Logical. That's going to keep him protected.
Because you can decide not to.
Yeah, you
use
can.
It,
We've
right?
seen. We actually saw him do that. We saw him do that last game, which was very smart because it kept him in the melee and it kept him protected. No,
was that intentional?
Yeah.
Okay.
From our standpoint,
from your,
that it is a May.
standpoint.
Yes, that was intentional actually. We figure that if you are a Jedi master or a master marksman, you can shoot to wound instead of shoot to kill. You can check your blows a little bit. It just gives you more flexibility. And from the very early stages, we knew one of the things that was going to keep these melee characters viable, their ability to pull enemies into combat and to jump from combat to combat. That's why engagement doesn't allow shooting into, because that presents
exactly
this strategy.
Right here,
and that's why it is so difficult to leave an engagement, because what we were finding is that without those special protections, it was far too easy to just gun melee character down. You either had to make them so unbelievably tough that they could take a ton of shots, or you had to do something like give them cunning ways to protect themselves by getting up close and personal. And that's the route we went, and that is one of the things that makes Luke so strong. Because this is forcing him to waste 2 units to withdraw, but it does open Luke up now to the possibility of being attacked. So and again, anytime you're rolling dice with Luke, it's a scary time. How many wounds does he have on him? Does he have one left, or has he
1 wound on him?
Has he been fully healed?
And I think should he still have the dodge? Is it hidden in the?
I believe he still has a dodge.
Yeah.
He has not rolled any defense dice this round. It's probably hidden in the foliage. But yeah, if we can ask the folks on the floor to let us know what's the status of Luke. Is he wounded? Does he have that dodge token? How many wounds has he taken?
What tokens are on Luke at this point?
Dodge.
Just a dodge?
Just a dodge.
No wounds?
No wounds.
So it does. Okay, it sounds like he was able to heal him with both medical droids.
That is a
fully
scary spot.
Fully armed and operational Luke, really going to be a very difficult thing for the Imperial player to deal with here. He's going to have some luck, I would say. Yeah, 0 wounds, 1 dodge, right in the middle of things. 2 units already had to activate and get out of the way. Not going to be easy for the Imperials to handle this. Not at all.
I think that's going to be heavy from this.
Yeah, that little rock.
So here's a question: are there any units that have been defeated? Right,
Fully?
I think the score is still fully defeated because that's.
Well, looking at Kyle's cards, I see 5 casualties. Is that 5? Does that look like 5 to you? Up on the middle of his card spread there.
Yeah, it looks like it.
It's either 4 or 5. So whether that unit is defeated or not, somebody's close. There's a lot of Stormtrooper units that are very close to being defeated. And there's plenty of game to go. So I think the rate that things are falling and the fact that Luke is just continuing to be this huge presence, I think very quickly we're going to see whole units deleted. But Kyle definitely hasn't lost a lot,
So
which is going to keep him in.
Right?
Oh yeah.
So that I think that's coming next.
Yep. Well, and everything is so close to him that he can just recover.
Right.
Recover for Jedi Mind Trick, for Force Push, for 2 melee attacks with Son of Skywalker.
He'll do this whole thing all over again.
Just so mean. Yeah. So mean. No, this is exactly where you want to be if you are playing with Luke Skywalker, and exactly what you do not want if you are playing against him.
So Veer's retreating.
Yep. And actually, this is really interesting because this is the
evaporator trying to surround it potentially.
Yep. Because you can still play to the objectives, and Luke is terrifying. But if you can continue to kind of cycle your units in and out and prevent him from fully destroying whole units, you can kind of try to blunt the force. But of course, all those other rebels are moving up into firing positions to support this attack. And that's what's so devastating about Luke.
So Veer just retreated and then spotted the 2 sniper units, it looks like. So I think the snipers are going to try to tee off on Luke.
That's what I'd do.
So he can't use his aim or his dodge, I mean.
And that's scary. That's a scary place to be for Luke. He can, that's just a 50-50 red dice save. Immune pierce, but other than that,
It's still dice.
it's still dice, and he's only got 6 wounds. He does have those E-stims, though, so he's looking at 8 effective wounds, and the bounty's not on him, so he doesn't have to worry over much. If Luke gets 5 great turns and then goes down, so be it.
Yeah.
So
this is exciting.
yeah, this is turning into a really exciting
if you
final.
want to learn how to play Legion, just watch this game.
Oh,
because
yeah,
this is
watch
some
this whole
really high
weekend's worth
level,
of games. There's been some
definitely.
amazing stuff. Every game has been just a humdinger. And this one is no exception.
What state is that from? What's a humdinger?
What is a
Where does that come
humdinger?
from?
It's some
It's
old
like-
man,
yeah.
old man verbiage. It's like probably some 1920s slang. I'm a weird fellow. I read a lot of old books. I'm always tempted to do like the transatlantic accent a little bit. Like
Here's some wounds on Luke. Oh, he takes 2 wounds on Luke?
I think so. No
Yeah,
dodge
'cause he
tokens. Snipers are gnarly. Couple of wounds coming in on Luke Skywalker. Not going to be an easy thing to recover from.
Oh, so look, he's got the fancy commander tray with the wound on it.
Yeah.
Right there.
Actually, it looks like both of these players have some really awesome laser cut unit card holders. That's very classy. It keeps everything organized. I like it. And that commander tray is extra special.
That was from Adepticon.
Yeah, was that a
top 8, I think.
FFG
Or top-
FFG
I
price
think that
support?
is
That's very
FFG,
cool.
yeah.
Yeah, very cool.
Maybe it's top 2. I forget.
Yeah, I have to say our OP program is putting out some really cool prizes. They're being very innovative, and they're using a lot of new technology and making some very desirable stuff, which I think is great. Yeah, Wade is killing it.
Are we going to see some Rebel command tokens for price support soon?
Someday, I'm
right?
sure.
I mean,
I'm sure. But yeah, I just want to shout out to Wade Pichet again. Like Wade is pretty much the very artistic personality responsible for a lot of these extremely cool prizes. And, he is crushing it. I love everything he's doing for all of our games. People asking how do you do about Luke? Well, honestly, I think Luke Cook has got the right approach. He's fading back. He's hitting Luke with high pressure stuff like sniper teams. Put 2 wounds on him. That's a quarter of the way there.
Mm-hmm.
So, but I mean, ultimately, there's only so much you can do.
If we can get Whipcord next turn
That
before
helps.
Luke activates,
Yep, that certainly
would
helps.
help.
And I think that's probably why he saved Son of Skywalker.
Sniper's moving to get a shot on Luke here.
Mm-hmm.
This is the only sniper that's gone so far, right? Yeah.
So is he trying to get the pistol shot with the spotter as well here, it looks like?
Why not? Get as many
'Cause he
dice
has
in as possible.
He's got no dodge.
That's 4 dice, right?
Yeah,
Well,
there it is, yeah.
here's has he used his
Damn.
dodge token?
Yes, he used it.
Oh, so yeah.
3 hits.
Nerve-wracking, because if he gets bad luck here, it's a lot of blanks.
Oh,
That's not what you want.
2 more wounds.
It's not what you
Sniper's
want.
doing work here.
That's half of his starting wound pool. Not too many more shots are going to be coming Luke's way, but still, has Boba gone? I don't believe
No, I don't
Boba's
think
gone.
so.
Yeah, people are asking in the thread, how do you deal with Luke? Well, fade back and put your guns on full auto because
triple sniper.
Yeah, triple
That's
snipers helps. Yeah, I mean that's another reason they're so popular.
That is, yeah.
High velocity is no joke. Luke has taken 3 damage so far, but he does have E-stims, so there's quite a ways to go. Pretty unlikely he can bring Luke down this round, but we'll see how the rest of this plays out. And because of the terrain and because of the positioning of these units, even if Skywalker is whipcorded, he can do some nasty work with that pistol of his.
Mm-hmm.
That's one of the cool things about Luke Commander. He's got that backup sidearm, and it doesn't come into play often, but it's pretty darn good. Pierce 2 red dice with Surge?
Mm-hmm.
That's no joke. Not much good against cover, but if you're in the right spot, you can get some great shots off.
So Kyle just whiffed on a sniper shot.
Mm.
No rally. Shooting Luke.
More shots into Luke.
Ooh, there, yeah.
So
Luke.
yeah, just make Luke roll dice, you know?
Wow,
It's
another
blank.
wound from
These
a-
dice
yeah.
these dice are not going Kyle's way.
So that's a DLT unit blinking away
Mhm.
there.
And that brings Luke to 4 wounds. Scary stuff.
4 wounds and stims. So we've got
Yeah, four out
more
of
units.
4 out of 8, I suppose. Now, Kyle, I think, ideally here, Kyle's not going to have to use stims this round.
no.
But if he does, that might change the game a little bit. That might, because once you know you only have 1 round, you can make as you know, Luke as the player can make a lot of confident choices, knowing that that threat is about to disappear.
Mm-hmm.
So Kyle has to hope that Luke can just hang on.
We'll see how much damage Boba can do to him because he's probably in range 2.
Oh, yeah.
Has an aim.
Also, Luke is starting to pile a lot of suppression on. And you know, he is Courage 3, but if you lose an action with a powerful piece like that, that's a problem.
Yep.
Especially when you're counting on that recover, attack kind of
Mhm.
thing.
Another whiff on a sniper shot with an aim here.
Dang.
Another whiff. Wow.
All right, these dice are not going Kyle's way all of a sudden. He had some really great early rounds, but it's starting to swing back.
Yeah, sniper. Same deal. Gotta take out the kid.
Gotta take out the kid is right.
Yeah. Farm boy.
So we're gonna see 4 black dice coming back at Luke here from the sniper team.
Mm-hmm. Oof.
No aim.
Those close range scouts.
Whoa,
Oh my god.
that is a money roll.
Well, and here's the thing: like a really bad roll from Luke could end
He
it.
can go on stims right here.
Not on stims, he could be defeated. Could potentially be defeated, which is wild. Well, no, he's gonna roll 3, right?
So he'll have 1 wound left. Oh,
What about
no.
what about cover? Did they apply cover? Have they been applying cover? Looked like 4 hits to me. Why do you roll 4 defense
I
dice?
think they forgot to apply the
Maybe we can get a judge reminder there. I don't know.
whatchamacallit.
That's Kyle's.
Suppression.
That's Kyle's mistake if he's not rolling. If he's not applying cover.
Yeah.
You're tapped.
There's 2 crits in there, definitely.
I saw 2 crits for sure. So, but yeah, gross.
It's been a long
Oh,
weekend.
sharpshooter. Duh. Light cover. My snipers.
Oh yeah, they're snipers.
Yeah, snipers are so gross.
We're not used to snipers rolling 4
not
dice.
in that
was
not in that
situation.
close range. Yeah,
Wow.
yeah. Of course, but no, sharpshooter 1, absolutely
so 3
brutal.
more wounds went in, so he had to go on stims.
He's on stims
Two-
and he's
two on stims,
and he's
yeah.
also on 1 more wound, and Luke is gone. This is gone. His dice rolls have been absolutely atrocious on Luke's defense rolls here.
Yep.
So, honestly, this could
So-
potentially cost time here.
So Skywalker gets 1 more activation, and then he's dead, basically.
Well, I mean, if you
Unless
if
he gets
you
shot by Boba.
I was gonna
first.
say like Boba
Well,
could
Boba
actually
hasn't gone yet.
yeah, exactly, like no, Luke could actually be removed here.
That's big.
And his offense dice have been horrible too. This is a round of truly egregious dice for Kyle, and he's not getting
Here comes
anything
Boba.
done.
Here's the Boba shot.
And conversely, Luke Cook's dice have been on fire.
Range 2.
He's been rolling just hot shots.
Boba gets 3
He's got a name
so
token.
Far, so 3.
But I
Ignores
mean-
cover.
Honestly, he's got to make all 3 of these saves to win the game.
Wow.
So that's actually really crazy. Question answered, I
Big-
guess. How do you
big
deal with Luke
swing.
Skywalker?
You just shoot at him.
Shoot him so
Yeah.
much. But yeah, that was extremely brutal for Kyle there. That's a big swing. I think Luke may have just tilted things back in his favor in a big way.
So now Leia has to step up. Because now the blue player advantage comes into play. So Luke Skywalker's how many points?
160
That's old.
base plus he took Mind Trick and Push, so 175. 178 because he's got stims.
Oh, that's Lupo's
I'm sorry,
list.
we're looking at the wrong. So 178 plus 5, 183. On where is?
I think it's under
Oh
there,
yeah, it's
yeah.
under my thing here. Yeah, 183.
So that was the first unit defeated.
That's a spendy one. Yeah,
That's
Luke
almost
Luke,
three Stormtrooper
Luke
squads.
absolutely needed another turn with Luke Skywalker needed another turn. Now and then so there's the downside of not dropping Son of Skywalker early because now it's gone.
Aggressive play. He tried to hide in the combat.
He did. I mean, it wasn't a bad call.
Yeah.
Matt says he should have lived through that.
Definitely.
He had 8 wounds to tank. 8 wounds in a dodge token.
Yep.
You should be fine. So not a bad play strategically. But Luke's dice were hot, Kyle's dice were not, and that's the danger.
It's the magic of Star Wars.
Mm-hmm. Someone in the chat, turns out Han was right. Laser swords, no match for a good blaster at your side. Well, sometimes yes, and sometimes no. But yeah, I think that's unfortunately that was big. That was Kyle's big play here, and it did not go the way he had hoped.
This is on the inside.
Certainly not over, but the even if Luke had been able to hang on till the end of the turn with stims, I think. Or if any of his offense had showed up to the party, if any of those sniper shots had hit, if any of those big Z6 rolls had actually done some damage, because not only was he not making Luke saves, he wasn't making those vital offensive rolls to take some of the pressure
sniper
off.
whiffing is
Not even putting suppression out.
not even,
So yeah, that's just a rough turn for dice variance, but well played by Luke Cook, keeping his head, keeping his cool,
what a roll.
and
That's
doing what he
maximum
needs to do.
firepower
Yep.
from, so he surges to crit, so 2 hits and 2 crits here. Sharpshooter 1, so it looks like he's going to roll 3. 1 save, statistical.
Well, and with a full health Boba still on the table, he can start hunting Leia. He can start punishing those Rebel squads. The Rebels just lost their big distraction, and I think it's going to go pretty poorly for these remaining soldiers.
It looks like there's a couple Stormtrooper squads with 2 minis in it left. So those need to go down from a point standpoint.
Absolutely.
And
Kyle's going to need his dice to start showing up for him if he's gonna start eliminating units.
and we'll see Veers get more aggressive here, I think, with his gun, which is actually surprisingly pretty good.
Yeah, Kyle's got to recover mentally, emotionally from
So a
from
little
that
rattled.
turn. Absolutely, who wouldn't be? Who wouldn't be? Especially on the top table like this. People asking what Kyle has left. A lot. He's got all of his snipers. He's got most of his squads. Leia's still around. He's lost, it looks like, 1 full unit and a couple of chip damage from his other units. So he has a substantial amount still on the table. What he doesn't have is Luke Skywalker and the ability to distract this Empire gun line. The Empire can now kind of reform, reassess the situation, and because they were able to generate, that's a decent roll for once.
That looks like a Leia shot, no?
Yeah, I think so. Sharpshooter. So what's that gonna be? Yep, Leia. It up. See, Leia's great though. Leia's no joke. This game is not over by any means. But what I was looking
come
at,
back to points.
absolutely, what I was looking at before was I was really thinking Kyle had it, because another turn, especially a Son of Skywalker, even if Luke goes down, you're going to do enough damage to clear the way. But because Luke went down in a single round, he absorbed a lot of fire, but he didn't actually defeat very many models. Now this is a much different game, and I think advantage Kyle at this point.
I think he would have been a lot better off kind of staying behind that tree on the right side and
So he
pulling them
couldn't be.
that
So he
way.
couldn't be
So
shot. He
couldn't-
did get very aggressive with Luke.
Very.
Yeah. It's hard. It's. I mean, one of the reasons that Luke is, strong but not totally dominant, is that he's very hard to play. It's a very high risk, high reward strategy, And, you shoot enough blasters at even a Jedi, and they're going to go down eventually.
We've seen that in the movies.
Absolutely. Smoke TV asking why Leia is stronger than Veers shooting-wise. Well, Leia's a crack shot. If you see her in the trilogy, we talked about this earlier. She's got the highest accuracy ratio of any of the main characters in the original trilogy, and
she's rich, so she has good guns.
And she's rich, so she's a beautiful blaster. And also, just from a gameplay perspective, I wanted her to be a very effective combat piece as well. The advantage of Veers is he's slightly cheaper and he has a longer range gun. But of course, he's stuck with the standard Imperial firearm. Maybe not a bespoke, Alderaanian royalty pistol. So it's not going to maybe be as good for him. But he does have sharpshooter, or not sharpshooter. He has precise. So
he has sharpshooter 1.
He has sharpshooter 1, and he has precise. So if he does get a name token, he has a decent shot.
Surges to crit.
He surges to crit. So
the main
he
difference
doesn't
is range 3, which is a big advantage.
He's got a weaker shot. I will also say that Leia feels deadlier when you're playing Imperials because you're used to getting that red save, and she's taking it all away.
And cover. And
absolutely, she just ignores it all.
Yeah, she actually. Compared to Boba, from that range standpoint, is pretty close.
Yeah.
From a surging and.
Yeah, for 90 points with with martial arts and a great gun and a great range attack, she brings a lot to the table. Some really wonderful command cards too. There's a reason she's so popular. Now, I wonder if Kyle has any chance of winning on Vaporators. I think he would have had a possibility if Luke had been able to do his thing, but I think they're too well. I think they're too well defended.
The problem is he's got 2 or 3 sniper squads down there, plus stormtroopers.
The Vaporators are too well defended, and the Rebels are too far away. Miranda Ghost saying, Leia's iconic hair buns hide a sophisticated targeting array.
She might be a actually, or maybe
you're thinking of the old Dark Horse story where they use a human replica droid to defeat Trioculus during the marriage ceremony in which he thought he was going to marry Princess Leia. So, yeah, EU is a crazy place. Especially when I was working on X-Wing, I read a lot of the old stuff for material, for the older ships and for EU stuff. Boy, there was some wild stuff from that period of time. It was just anybody could write anything, really, for a long time. You had some crazy things. And the quality was all over the place. There's some great stuff, but they also had some just wacky storylines.
And it's all gone now. So
it is. Well, it lives on. It lives on as a legend or whatever.
Whatever they
and what I do think is really cool is they are pulling the best. They're pulling the hits. We did see Thrawn up in Rebels.
Thrawn is great. Do you think we'll see Thrawn anytime soon?
In Legion? That's a strong option. Okay. That's a cool commander. And what was extra cool about his Rebels appearance is he actually gets some ground combat in.
That's right.
Yeah, he puts on some armor and he leads from the front. How cool is that?
I've seen people paint their Veers like.
Just give him that Chiss color scheme. Yeah, because he wears the same.
The white armor
same Imperial equipment as Veers. He's got the chest plate. Okay. He even puts on the helmet. So yeah, absolutely can proxy Veers' Thrawn for the time being. But Thrawn offers a lot of really interesting possibilities. I'd want to focus. Kind of like Krennic, you would want to put a lot of
between Veers Krennic.
Yeah, maybe you'd want to put a lot of emphasis on the command cards. I can see having a lot of fun with that. Mind games, maybe like reading your opponent, stuff like that. Could be really cool.
It's like if you guess their card, you get a bonus token or something.
I'll tell you what, there's enough out there to keep Luke and I Eddie, my co-developer, and
a lot of Lukes here today.
So many Lukes, man. Busy for many, many, many years.
Can he see green unit leader from there?
Green unit.
Yeah, he can see the shoulder pad. Okay, we'll take a shot at green. Still in full squad.
Yep.
Actually, let me just check my cohesion here. Okay, they're still within command range.
That would be bad.
All right, Jade.
Sorry. I know.
Rebel Trooper squad shot.
Kyle again needs some good dice here. Not bad at all.
3 crits.
3 crits.
There we go.
That's something. That's something.
Wow. And that
And Luke's
answer,
dice say no. No,
that
sir. No. No.
the beauty of being a
No.
stormtrooper when you roll paint.
Well, I mean, we watched Luke's Boba Fett tank all
Oh
that
my
lightning
goodness.
too. So, hey, sometimes the dice they smile upon ye, but also Luke playing it really well.
Oh, definitely.
doing all the right things.
Yep. Thanks.
We're gonna go on light burn. You can definitely get over here.
Yeah.
That's the question.
Yeah.
So, right at range 2.
It's always interesting that dice tend to balance themselves out. You know, 3 crits rolled through heavy cover
Yep.
and then blocks
And
it,
then
right?
3 blocks.
So-
Sometimes they
Yeah.
fall on your face, but
3.
yeah, no, and it's interesting when you do have these up close engagements where you do see the difference between scout snipers and commando snipers. You get too close to a scout, they will wreck you.
Mm.
You're relying on light as a tank. You're not.
Which typically doesn't happen with the
No, it doesn't
unlimited
happen
range.
very often. So
It was very odd to
it's
see
much
the-
it's much more common to have your commandos get that extra die because of the range 3. But hey, they've got that sidearm and they know how to use it when it counts. And they're a decent counterpunch to Skywalker. I mean, maybe that's one of the reasons that he deployed them a little further forward and actually get some shots in. I don't know. I don't know
yeah,
what's
I don't
in
know what's going through his
Luke Cook's
mind, right? I
mind,
think-
but it came in handy. I can
Definitely worked out.
tell you that. Yeah, and I think both of these lists have a little bit of everything. They have a solution to almost everything. Veer's Boba Fett has got so much flexibility, so much ability to change your game plan.
Another sniper shot.
Kyle Sniper's continuing to fail. Not
Forces
at all what
suppression
he
down.
needs right now. He needs to start rolling a little stronger.
I think he was going after that weakened stormtrooper unit, trying to score some points. That's the only way he'll really win here.
Yeah, and unfortunately being down almost 200 points from Luke Skywalker's loss is not going to help. He has, I'm quite sure, removed more of Luke's core units and stuff than he has gotten removed, but I think points differential is still very much in Luke's favor.
I think it's 3.
And he's now able to recommit his forces to the offensive now that Luke has been dealt with. You can kind of see there is this impact bubble that
It was like
pushed him away, and now they can reform.
It's pretty amazing to watch it on screen like this.
Yeah, this has been a very dramatic game.
Finish this turn out. Bubble.
You know what Kyle needed? Kyle needed Boba Fett's dice from last game. Then he would have been fine.
I think Kyle just said he'll finish this turnout and see how it goes, and then maybe call it.
I think that's a
he's-
reasonable
yeah.
position to be in. Like, sometimes when you're beat. You make your big play. It doesn't go according to plan, and I don't blame anyone for a gentlemanly concession at the point of no return, especially after two full days
Another blank
of Legion.
sniper.
Definitely
Aim,
not.
one hit,
No, this has
Need
been
some
like
crits,
this has
yeah.
been 2 rounds of just sniper whiffs for Kyle.
Sometimes they hit, sometimes they don't.
It's true.
You know.
It's true.
So do you think we'll see a bid war?
Well,
start?
we-
because
we-
blue player seems to be pretty powerful still.
Blue player is quite good. Who was blue? It was Luke was blue.
7-point bid was the max
I
that
think
we've seen.
I think a 7-point bid feels pretty reasonable. That indicates to me that it's important but not vital. We didn't see any 30-point bids. We didn't see anything
That would be
crazy.
Crazy, yeah.
So I don't mind a 7-point bid if you really prefer using your own pool. I think if new objectives, when new battle cards come out, the bid might become more important.
Okay.
But of course, there's always things we can do once there's a bigger pool to choose from. We can say, hey, here are the battle cards for this year, or whatever. We have a lot of flexibility in that regard.
Cool.
So we'll have to play that by ear. For now, it is the way it is. There's only 5 in each category. 4. You're still, you can't get rid of everything you don't want. If there's ever 30 cards in each category, maybe we'll have to institute some kind of controls. But that may influence the bid. Positional play may influence the bid. If we see Sabine becoming really popular, if there's ever a Jin Sabine list that's just so great at objective grabbing, you need to combat it. So it's hard to say. I think the bid's in a great spot right now. 7 points is very reasonable. That's barely an upgrade card that you've dropped. So that indicates to me that it is not so important that you're willing to give up a substantial amount of army building for it. And it's my hope that it stays in that place. I never like it when the bids get absolutely outrageous. There have been times in X-Wing where the bids became fairly absurd. I don't think that blue player advantage is ever going to be that dominant. At least I hope not. And if it is, then we can take steps to address it. But I don't know. I would be surprised if we saw more than a 10-point bid at the max, because there's a lot of tasty stuff you can buy with even 7 points.
Yeah. With more stuff coming out, what are you going to give up, right?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of great upgrades.
I mean, he gave up like 2 recon intels maybe on the stormtroopers.
Yeah. He could have had recon intel on every stormtrooper unit.
Yeah.
And still had points to spend. And I also think that bids may go down when we start seeing more cheap upgrade cards that are very useful. Stuff that's on the level of recon intel. Yeah, I didn't see any. The only grenades I saw were on those snowtroopers. So
the frag grenades.
It's
a good combo.
It is a good combo, but it's pretty interesting because early on there was a huge fear of grenades. There was a huge, and this is way back in the very early days.
Okay.
But because their attack efficiency is so high, but as it turns out, that range 1 restriction is enough to make sure that they're not taken by a lot of the high-level players, or at least not without a very specific plan.
The range 1 is very limited, especially when you have other weapons that are longer range.
Exactly. So I'm actually glad that grenades are quite strong, because they, and just in terms of their actual attack power, because they need to be. They need to be effective. I was a little worried frag grenades were going to be too strong, because they give you surge and I believe red dice.
Yep, I've seen them on Rebel Trooper squads where
they're not
you
bad.
Can combine it. Now the Z6 are just the crits, which could be kind of gross.
Yeah, I mean they're nasty, but as we can see, that range 1 is not easy. It's not easy to get to there.
Speeder is immune to grenades is a question on here.
Not unreasonable from a lore perspective, but not necessary, I don't think. I mean, for one thing, we're just not seeing that many grenades, so it's not a huge
it's like,
danger.
The T-47's coming. Let's load up on impact grenades, right?
So I understand that from the sort of simulationist angle, but has not really proven to be a problem. The grenades are not what is keeping vehicles off of tables.
This guy's gonna move so that I can see those guys.
Some more sniper play here.
Yeah, and all Luke has to do really is protect his margin here, stay alive, put some damage out, make sure everybody's in heavy cover, make sure he's getting decent shots. It's definitely his game to lose. I really think if Luke wins this, he won that through that round of lasering down Skywalker.
That
had to he had to do it. He did everything right, but the dice had to come up in his favor, and they did.
Yeah.
And that's what determines a world champion. You need a lot of skill and a little bit of luck where it counts. But if Kyle does manage to pull this off, it'll be one heck of a comeback. Going 1-2 day one, and making it to the final table. That's still a heck of a reversal. And it looked for a minute there like he could take it all the way.
It was getting very tense, for lack of a better word there.
Yeah, absolutely. No, and it's a little disappointing to not see Luke pop off and do some more magic, but Luke Cook was able to really stop that force right in its tracks.
Yeah,
it's a lot of blaster fire.
How many Stormtrooper squads would Luke Skywalker have to go through to make up his points? Because if you're gonna go in
on a strict point basis,
right, because that's the way he would win the game, right? So if you went in and killed more points, even if you just did a suicide mission, it would be 4 Stormtroopers. Squads?
Well, actually, there's 70 each, right? With the recon intel, so 3 and you're ahead. Not that many, actually.
That's not.
Yeah,
too hard
it's
to
pretty
do.
reasonable. Well, right. That's why if he'd had one more turn.
Yeah.
If you had one more turn with Luke and Son of Skywalker, there's your points back, presumably. So that was huge. Taking Luke down completely in a single turn prevented, what could have been a major loss.
Do you think he should have played
resources.
Son of Skywalker early?
Hard to second guess. It is. That's what I would have done.
Yeah.
But I'm definitely not a world class player. And then
called
there's
it
the
like that,
concession.
isn't it?
Yep. Yep. It's hard to say. I think by the numbers, Luke should have survived that round. He was in position to do so.
You crazy son of a bitch! Beat the world champion.
Yeah, so we got some celebration and pretty crazy.
Kyle dropped 2 of his games yesterday.
Well, even our winner here, not undefeated in this field. So, wonderful weekend. I had an absolute blast here. Yeah, absolutely worth applauding. Yeah.
Well, we have our first world champion.
Yeah, we have our
Legion.
first world champion, and it is Luke Cook, a gentleman and a scholar. What a game! That was absolutely incredible. I think we had an absolutely exciting match there. Ended up being a little lopsided at the end, but if Kyle's dice had been a little bit better, that absolutely could have gone the other way. And I respect that kind of boldness.
He had to make a bold move,
You
because
have
otherwise
to.
he couldn't just sit back.
You can't. I mean, the Imperials outshoot you at a distance. At least this Imperial list does. And Luke Kyle put Luke Skywalker in a position to absolutely run riot on on Luke Cook's lines. I'm so discombobulated by all of this tense Legion action. I'm mixing up all my names, but yeah, I think Kyle was absolutely can't really be faulted for that choice. It was a bold move. Sometimes you have to roll the dice, and sometimes they don't come up your way. But yeah, maybe there's always that sort of armchair quarterbacking you can do, thinking about it. Should he have hidden Luke behind that tree to blunt the Imperial assault? Should he have been more conservative? Should he have played Son of Skywalker a turn earlier? Yeah. It's impossible to say. It's easy to say in retrospect, he opened himself up to a lot of shooting. But I think if you look at the math on it, it was highly improbable that he should go down that round. So it's tough to second guess that kind of thing. I think if one were to crunch the numbers on that, Luke had a very small chance of being fully defeated in a single round with 8 wounds and a dodge token. That's a very unusual thing. Even with those sniper teams and even with all of that firepower. So I don't think it was necessarily the bad move, but we're going to talk to Kyle in a little bit, and we're going to get his perspective on the game.
Great.
Hopefully not rub too much salt in the wounds or anything like that, but he's an absolutely wonderful analytical player. He puts up a lot of great statistical analysis online. So I guarantee you Kyle crunched those numbers in his head before he did that. And we're going to get to talk to him about a little bit of math, a little bit of statistics very soon. So he'll be back here for a brief interview. And then, of course, we'll interview Luke Cook, our winner, because, he played an amazing weekend. and
he played very well.
And it was fantastic to see him pilot that list with such deftness. And he only dropped one game. In fact, the only loss that he lost was to a fellow Rebel player, to Saboteurs, and it came down to one shot from Leia, from Daniel's Leia. Taking out the snipers. So Luke only dropped a single game, and it was absolutely right down to the wire. We have our new champion, highly deserved, and it's been an unbelievable weekend here. So very excited to this content. We're going to take a little 2-minute break, and then we will be back to talk to the runner-up. So stay tuned.
Let's do it.
Welcome back. We are here with the first runner-up, Kyle Dornbos. Played an amazing weekend's worth of games. And we just wrapped up that extremely exciting game. We had some wild swings back and forth. We had some drama. We had some heartbreak. But we're here to just talk that game over a little bit and talk the weekend over. So I guess my first question for you is just how tired are you at this point?
Very.
Yeah. It's a long weekend.
A lot of highly stressful games over 2 days.
Yeah, so. I can imagine. And having to, play every single game against the best of the best has got to be an extra level of exhaustion to deal with.
Yeah, this is definitely a strong crew. Nobody lost a game everybody won at least one game over the course of the entire weekend.
Nobody was totally defeated, and we didn't see really a single total blowout game all weekend.
Mm-hmm.
Like there were some games that ended with one player having a high score, but even in each of those games there was a moment where it could have gone either way, and I don't think anyone made any truly enormous strategic mistakes. I'm sure there were little things here and there, but overall a fantastic weekend of play. What were your thoughts coming into this tournament? Why did you pick the list that you did? It obviously carried you pretty darn far.
Yeah, so my list is very boring. It's I won't pretend otherwise. It's just 6 core units, 3 snipers, and the two best rebel characters in my opinion. So,
well, every other rebel player appears to agree with you,
Yeah.
so you're not alone in that analysis.
Yeah, I did actually experiment a little bit with Flyboy's Lucan before the tournament, but I just didn't have enough reps in with it. Unfortunately. So.
And do you think that was a factor in a lot of these list buildings? Just familiarity, comfort, reps.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at all of the lists, and they were very broadly similar to the ones that people brought to High Command at Adepticon. So.
Yeah, I noticed that as well. So going into this game, obviously you're very familiar with Luke Cook's list as well. It's kind of a archetypical, very efficient, very nasty Imperial list.
Oh yeah.
What were your thoughts about how to handle that? Well, how did you approach that matchup?
Yeah, so I've actually faced Luke several times before, and he's a very tight player. Punishes mistakes. Doesn't make very many. So
tough game.
Yeah, I knew it was going to be tough when I saw Evaporators in the 3rd slot.
Yep, that's not, and obviously Luke pushed right for it, so that's going to make it come down to pretty much kill points unless things get really crazy.
Yeah, it usually does come down to kill points. As red, you definitely have to be aggressive with Evaporators. So this was actually the first time I was red. 5-point bid is usually enough, but Luke took a 7-point bid.
He just undercut you, got those 2 points under.
Yeah, there were actually a couple 7-point bids. I was not quite expecting to see
I
them
saw
that
that,
high,
I can't remember who else had it, but I know Luke and he went up at one point, and there was a roll-off for a player, so that's indicative of a very tight meta, I would say.
Yeah, for sure.
There was a minute there when it looked like you were in a position to take the whole thing. Let's talk about Luke Skywalker, the drama, the heartbreak. What went into that decision-making process? Because you jumped right in, lightsaber blazed up, sword swinging.
So if you can hide him in a unit, that's actually a fairly safe thing to do. I kind of got greedy going after that gray squad after he withdrew. What I should have done was just recovered and then force pulled that squad that had already activated back around the other side of that tree, and then just gone there and murdered them behind the other side of the tree.
And that you think was that your critical mistake in the game?
That was definitely
the game losing mistake.
Yeah, I kind of saw. I call it the Luke rage, but you kind of see red with Luke, where you're like, man, look at all these stormtroopers that I can.
I know
up.
we were in the same position. We got so excited.
Yeah.
But no, that's a very good point. Well, you can't go to the dark side, Kyle.
I know.
Don't give in to your anger.
Yeah, that was a dark side Luke moment there.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and I should have just gone light side. I've just been content to murder 3 of them instead of all those other ones. I saw a juicy target. I didn't appreciate how many units over there hadn't activated yet.
Well, and one thing that took me by surprise, and it's easy to not think about these things, but those sniper strike teams at range 1 are just double nasty.
Oh yeah,
that's like getting hit by 4 sniper strike teams at that point, or even worse because of the way sharpshooter works.
Right, because in the position that he was, by the time they shot him, he had suppression, but it didn't.
Suppression
do him any
and
good.
no dodge, and that didn't help. Yeah,
Yep.
that was wild. Obviously Luke rolled really great dice. Your defense dice maybe could have been a little hotter.
Yep.
But yeah, I think in retrospect, perhaps taking cover behind that tree might have been the difference there. But overall, fantastic thoughts. Do you have any final thoughts about the weekend, about the tournament, the state of the game?
It was just a great experience. It's super fun to hang out with all 8 of these guys. We all know each other. We played some Outer Rim last night. It was
nice.
It was fun.
And who won that?
Actually, I think I went to bed at like midnight because I was so tired and they were still playing. So I actually don't know who won.
We'll check in with that later.
Yeah, there you go.
We'll come back for a report on that.
Yeah, but I did play Bosk. I felt obligated
yes,
to play Bosk.
Yes.
So he is. Those that follow my blog know that he is my boyfriend. So.
Yeah, well, he's coming soon to a tabletop near you. That's very exciting.
Exactly. Yeah. He's probably in the mail or in my mailbox at this point. So,
very nice. Let's hope you've got a friendly lizard bounty hunter waiting for you.
There you go.
At home. Well, congratulations again. Thank you so much for being here. It was awesome to meet everybody. And we're going to just hot swap the overall winner in here. And we'll be back shortly. All right, we're back. Luke, congratulations, man.
Thanks,
Amazing
Alex.
weekend. Every single one of your games, spectacular. How are you feeling in this moment? What is going through your mind?
It still hasn't hit me yet, honestly. I'm just thinking about all my games right now, and it's just going through my head, just everything. Just unreal weekend. Just had a ton of fun with all the guys, and what a great experience we had. So yeah.
Yeah, well, it was a joy to watch. I mean, genuinely, I have been here all weekend. I've seen every game, at least in part, and so much really high-level expert play. Some really fantastic lists. Let's talk about your list.
Sure.
Obviously, no real left field mysteries here, but you, even within the context of this kind of archetypical Veers Boba list, there's a couple unique choices here. A lot of recon intel. Improvised orders and strict orders is not necessarily the most common choice. What all of these decisions? Why did you take what you took?
So I was debating putting snows in. That I usually always have one group of snows, but
Right.
with such good players, they know how to deny the snows. Like they can just put down suppression even.
Yeah.
So that was my first change, because I usually like bring a snow squad for like Wookiees,
Flamers, and
they
and
can
grenades
just
and
really
stuff.
do
Absolutely.
some big damage. I did a little homework, so I saw, from Adepticon, Kingsley and Kyle and, a bunch of the other guys had like 4 to 5 point bids. So I was like, all right, we're going to outbid these guys.
All right, doing your metagaming, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely a part of it.
I was debating going for a 9 point bid,
Ooh.
but we stuck with the 7 because,
Did you win? You ran up against one other 793 player. Did you win that roll-off?
I did. Yeah.
So it paid off for you.
Yeah. So
You won some key roll-offs this weekend, actually.
it helps to be blue.
Yeah, that it does. That it does. So going into the final match, obviously, you were up against a well-known list. You're up against Kyle, who's a great player. You've played before.
Yep.
What were your thoughts going into the match? How did you intend to handle what Kyle was bringing to the table?
So I had played Kingsley yesterday, and they were running very similar lists. But I knew that Kyle had a huge up on me with the sniper war. He's got CB, coordinated bombardment. That's what it's called.
Yep. And that was very effective round one.
Yeah. So once he used that, then it was like, all right, then it was less of an advantage. He still has the med bots to bring back some snipers.
Yeah, you were the only one here without medical bots, I think.
Yeah, there's just not a good way to fit it in the list. So yeah, I was a little worried for the sniper war. So, I hide both models round one. Try and do the spotter and then pop him out after he does his thing. So the sniper war is huge, but then I got lucky with blue player on Vaps advanced position, so he had to have this huge push over to me. So yeah, and then we're just running basically very similar lists, just Empire and Rebel, My Boba Fett play, I just played him very safe, just kind of.
Yeah, you did not want to mix it up with Luke.
No, you gotta stay the heck away from Luke. Don't even risk it, because dice can swing and
absolutely,
you can just take a full shot, die. But yeah, what a great game! What a great weekend! All the games were super close.
Yeah, what game made you sweat the most of all of your 6? I know that the one against Daniel was the only one you lost, and it was just by a hair. But But other than that, what game that you won was the most nerve-wracking for you?
Honest, that's tough to say. They were all super close. Maybe Kingsley's game.
Yep.
That was pretty sweaty game.
Yeah, we can see a little bit. You're glistening with flush with victory.
I'm still shook after that game. But yeah, and me and Eric's game today was super sweaty.
That was wild. Yeah, that Boba Fett lightning interaction.
Yeah,
craziness.
That was unreal. Boba Fett wasn't having it.
No, he was your man this weekend.
Yeah,
absolutely.
Yep.
Well, yeah. Well, do you have any final thoughts before we sign off for the weekend?
I'm just excited for where this game's going to go. You know, just a great first year, and you know, we're getting more players, and you know, the game is just awesome, man. You did a great job with it.
Well, thanks. I'm excited too. Well, we have a trophy for you, Jimmy, to present. The
awesome.
first ever Star Wars Legion world champion. A trophy and
sweet.
a little ornament for your desk. That is
man.
the Legion exclusive celebration miniature Vader.
That is awesome.
Well deserved, well earned. You played a hell of a series of games this weekend. So
Thank you very
congratulations again. And
thanks, Alex.
And I'm sure we'll see you back here again. All right. Well, that's going to bring this weekend to a conclusion. Sadly, we will be back online a little bit later on in July for some more Legion content. But for now, this is Alex Davey. It's been a real treat to have you join us, and that's all, folks.
Yeah. See you guys.